Tom, what's your situation?
We're live right now and I'm ready to go.
Okay.
My situation is I've got new batteries in my camera.
Call this meeting to order. Could you give us an invocation, please?
Dear Heavenly Father, please watch over us today as we make decisions. Please help guide us in our wisdom and with your knowledge and your support in making good decisions and good choices on behalf of all of our residents and our people of our community. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, to welcome you all here. I guess we just need some kind of rough weather to get people to come out. Roll call.
Commissioner Lopez,
Present.
Commissioner Martin,
Present.
and Commissioner Mulder.
Present.
Approval of the agenda.
No changes, no changes, no additions, sorry about that.
Okay.
Make a motion to approve.
Yes. Second.
Commissioner Mulder, I'm sorry, Lopez.
Yes.
And Commissioner Coulter,
Yes.
and Commissioner.
Yes. Consideration of minutes, regular meeting minutes of October the 3rd, 2017.
I reviewed the minutes and I didn't see any discrepancies, so I make a motion to approve.
I also reviewed it, everything looked like in order, and what happened, I'll second that.
Commissioner Mulder,
Yes.
Commissioner Lopez.
Yes.
And Commissioner Levin.
Yes. Correspondence, Commissioner, committee reports, Commissioner Lopez, anything?
Only thing I have is the committee had met for 1B and 1C and 1A, and they had a nice turnout at the Massari Auditorium. It was a good evening of questions and answers with the community and the public. I think a lot of questions were answered that evening, and it was nice to see so many of the people of our community out there for this question and answer, as well as we did at Angular and Primero. So the committees really had a nice turnout, so it was nice to see that.
I have nothing to report, I just want to welcome everybody to the meeting today. It's nice to see a big turnout.
Yeah, I have nothing. Either public comment, was there any public comment?
I believe we have a number of people who wish to speak on veteran items. However, when I checked, I didn't see any others. We also have a public hearing at 10 o'clock. I went ahead and marked
Okay, I think these
that.
are probably all for the group thing, so we'll wait on that. Administration report, county administrator report.
Okay, I have a couple of things. First of all, I think that one of the most important things is that the troubleshooter from Schindler is arriving at 10 o'clock today. He will be working with Kenny and Mr. Bertolino, and they have assured me that he's their #1 troubleshooter to work on the elevator, and following that, we will have some discussion. I know Beck is laughing. But we will have some discussion as to cost, because we did receive a late notice from their headquarter office back east, and I said, we are certainly not paying anything until we get this fixed. And additionally, we received a request for an update at the airport, and the last update that had been made by these folks, we had a manager. And I'm not certain what your wish is. Do you want to indicate that the manager is vacant? Do you want to put my name in there? But they're taking it on board.
So, what are our options?
Our options is to identify someone that they can contact apparently, so I don't mind if my name is placed on there. It has been for the interim with our inspection report, and we'll have an item on that a bit later.
Was Leanne's name?
It was Elliot Hubert.
Oh, okay, okay.
And how it's been done?
No.
Here.
Here.
So this book is for
It's an update for the folks that have all of the airports, and they go ahead and they update periodically to change personnel.
is it through the FAA?
Yes.
Okay.
Would you like me to put my name in there?
Well, we can have somebody in there.
Yeah.
I can't do one of us, so.
I'd say it was either one of you two.
She put it.
I handle the finance side of it. She can handle that side of it. How about that?
Very well. I would also like to, since we're out in the airport, I've had a number of discussions with some of the pilots, and there is beginning to be a waiting list for folks who want hangars. Folks are moving in, and their pilots. The rent on the hangars is very, very low. We have some opportunities there. However, we have 2 hangars that absolutely, apparently the motors were removed from the doors and they have to be reinstalled so that the doors will work. There's quite a bit of maintenance work to be done. We received some insurance money from the hail damage and other items there to the tune of about $38,000. And what we would like to do, there's a grant coming up for small airports, and we qualify as far as eligibility goes. We'd like to see if perhaps we could stretch that money by using it as a match against a grant. And so that's in the works. It will be coming up shortly. And we also, as far as the airport is concerned, we've been receiving a good number of advice and some interest that, so what we were thinking of is that perhaps we would solicit from the pilots that are renting the hangars, that we would ask for volunteers to be on an advisory committee to work with me as we start making a plan for needed improvements. And there are so many who think that we have a lot that we can do there. So we will be starting that as well. And then I have...
How many hangars are currently vacant?
Right now there are possibly 4 that in various stages of disrepair. Number 6, I believe, is been vacated, the door open. He just went into a vacant number 9. So we've got at least 4 that need to be worked on before we can go ahead and rent them.
So everything is rented that is rentable?
That's a good way to say it, yes. Yes, indeed. And the other thing is that the repairs are really necessary. They really are. It's pretty bad.
It's hard to push that door and get you cleaned out before it goes there.
That was his point precisely. Okay, and then DOLA. We have 2 grants. One, of course, is the one that the pass-through grant from the hospital working on their renovation. And that grant, as well as the grant for the courthouse, is, we've been contacted by Chelsea Stromberg at DOLA, who indicates that we still have the Amphabic as the signatory, and we have to replace that with my name. So I have drafted 2 letters for UMAC to sign and need your signature, and then subsequent to that, I will go ahead and sign my name, and so they would have my signature, and we will process that forward. I also was contacted yesterday by a gentleman that I believe you're aware of it, Mac. He said that you had recommended, he called me, and it was for a Spanish Peaks conservation for a wildlife grant. It's really a fire mitigation grant where they would go forward, and so it's a support letter so that we could give them support for a small grant. It's only $15,000, but still, it's a grant. And so I have that letter for your signature as well.
How are we gonna handle that?
Yeah, I'm sorry, is it a pass-through grant or what is it?
Oh, it's their grant. All it is
They just need support, a letter of support.
Oh,
It's
okay,
just
I
a
see.
support letter.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I misunderstood that.
Yeah.
Money.
Oh, no, money, I'm with you. Just, we will not come into it.
Okay.
You know, maybe what we need to do is read that letter so that the public knows what we're...
Oh, certainly I can do that. Okay. 2, November 7. 2, Colorado State Forest Service, Forest Restoration and Wildfire Risk Mitigation Grant Program. Please accept this letter of support for the Forest Restoration and Wildfire Risk Mitigation Grant Program. Fuels and Forest Health Project applied for by the Spanish Peaks Purgatory River Conservation District in cooperation with North Fork Ranches Landowner Association. The project is to remove woody fuels, primarily trees and shrubs, along primary roads of the North Fork Ranches subdivision. The treatment area will be on either side of the road within the easement boundary area, with the total treatment area being approximately 70 acres. This project is in line with goals and objectives of the county's emergency operations plan. Los Animas County Board of County Commissioners supports this application and encourages full grant funding as requested by Spanish Peaks Purgatory River Conservation District. Sincerely, Matt Loudon, Chairman, Los Animas County Board of County Commissioners.
Are you fine with that? Are you okay?
Well, it's something that really needs to be done, and I think there's a lot of people don't understand that if you haven't got the shrubs moved from around your house, and there is a fire, they're gonna go right on by your house. Because they're gonna go to the ones that they can't save. So, to get all of this removed away from there, it's very important for the firefighters, and for your own homes too. So, this is something that it's a long-range plan. We're working on it on the PWP, and it's something that needs to be done. So I'm happy that we're being proactive in this and trying to get this done. And all of the residents should be thinking about it too. That if there is a fire and there's a tree right here, maybe that's not a good thing. Anything else?
Sorry. I believe that's it.
Road and Bridge Supervisor, Mr. Dorncamp.
Good morning, Commissioners. We have finished all of our grant projects, the rebuilding and the asphalt, wrapped the asphalt up last week. So we're done with our grant projects. As at this point, going to be doing a presentation in the next few days to see if we need some more grant money for another rebuild. In the middle of project 17-R007, which is the bridge replacement north of Regulare on the highway, is the one that had pillars that were to the point where you could see through some of them, center pillars on the bridge, so we're replacing that bridge.
Bill, that's an action item, so go ahead and give your general, and then we'll go right to that, and you can explain that change order. 17006, is that right?
I'm talking about 07.
Oh, okay, 7, all right. I thought you said 6, I'm sorry.
And then lastly, I asked the residents, especially on those paved roads that we finished in the Honey area and also Sarceo Canyon, please be patient. We will get them shouldered, but it's not going to be anytime soon because our trucks, in my opinion, are much more important to be hauling surface material where people are driving out in the camera area right now versus outside of where the surface driving area is. So I just ask them to please be patient. We'll bring as much material as we can out of the ditches to pull up to the asphalt, but there are going to be some places where we're not going to have the ability to do that, so we're going to have to haul that material in. I'm going to repeat myself, I ask the residents to please be patient. That's all I've got. Thank you.
I think you just will stay there, Phil.
Well, there's 2 items before.
The public hearing will be at 10.
10 o'clock. So we're at new business, consideration of 17-R006, change order number 2, complete delivery deadline extension.
Commissioners, before you should be change order request submitted to us from A&S Construction. They were the company that did the paving on County Road 4107 Sarceo Canyon as part of grant 8427, and they have requested that the deadline be extended from October 31st through November 17th. I would ask the board to go ahead and approve that change order, even though the project's over. I think they finished it last Thursday, so technically they were a couple of days beyond the deadline. And I've also asked the board to not, for lack of a better way of describing, hit them with a penalty of $300 a day because they did submit their request prior to the end of the deadline. So ask the board to approve it. With no-
To the 17th.
To the 17th with no penalty.
Have they got anything else to do, or they're done?
They are done.
And that's R006?
17-R006.
And I must say, they did a good job. I've been up there.
Yeah, it's right smooth.
Yeah, it's nice.
And, you know, going off on stories, we try to pave in some of those narrow canyons because my sense is I'd rather use the monies we have available to go after asphalt versus buying rights of way and widening roads and stuff. And we widen as much as we can within our right of way, but we don't have the money as the state of Colorado does. They go in and buy a 40-foot wide right of way and build it from the bottom up. And then still get the asphalt. We have to make decisions. So yeah, they did a decent job.
Yeah, it looks good, other than, like you said, the shouldering needs to get done, and once that's done, I think it's gonna be really nice. I'll make a motion to approve the change order, for 17-R006.
Second?
Commissioner Lopez,
Yes.
Commissioner Walter,
Yes.
Commissioner Bowden.
Yes. Consideration of 17-R001, change order number 2, crushing deadline extension.
Commissioners, A&S Construction, same company, has sent us a change order to request that the deadline extension be extended to can't read my own notes. I believe it's December 1st.
And the delay on that was?
Excuse me, October 30th.
December,
Yeah, December 1st.
says right here.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. I'm sorry, but
And then they just run into some problems?
they ran into some problems in mostly weather and some other commitments that they had. It was December 1st, 2017. But they requested an extension to that. And as I said in the past, if it was something that was critical that would cause us a delay to get something else done in those projects, then I'd recommend that we push it, hit them with penalties, because that would get their attention. But where it's just strictly crushing gravel for our county roads, we've got plenty in stockpiles that we're hauling out of right now, so it's not delaying our ability to get our work done. So I asked the board to go ahead and approve this one also. And right now, they finished in the Unwin pit, they finished in the Shannon pit. When I was up last week to the Jolly pit, I think they were about 80% done there, and they are moving into the Branson pit as weather permits. And Branson will be their last pit that they crush out.
Seems like we're always last.
Shannon got first, then Unwin.
How many more ton do they have to?
I'm guessing they got 25,000 at Branson, and they probably had another 10 last week at Jolly, so I would guess total probably about 30,000 because they crushed latter part of last week in Jolly when I wasn't up.
Do we hear a motion to approve change order number?
I will make a motion, to approve, change order number 2 for 17-R001.
Second?
Commissioner Lopez,
Yes.
Commissioner Walter,
Yes.
Commissioner Bowden.
Yes.
Thank you.
Bill. Consideration of Jeremy Yoder placing water pipe on the corner of county property. Bill, we may have some questions for you on this one too.
That's what I was saying.
Bill,
But why don't you come up and kind of give us we've got the maps, have you got the maps?
Yes, I think I do.
what line?
I haven't been involved much with this, but Mr. Yoder did come into my office one day and speak with me about different possibilities, and I asked, one of the possibilities was if he could put a pipeline outside of our county road right away, I think it's County Road 38, on county property, and I said that was something he'd have to take up with someone else by authority and message rests between the fence lines. And he said, well, if he couldn't work on the, I call it the south side of the fence from county property, the airport property, could he then go between the fence and the shoulder of our road? He said he really didn't prefer doing that because there's a bunch of utilities in there. So, well, that would be an option, but go the first route first, see if you can put a water line on county property. Now, I'm going to assume that's what he's wanting to do here is actually stay south of that fence on the south side of 38 and put a water line
So
parallel that fence, I believe.
what is this going to entail? How much, do you have any thoughts, pro or con, or neutral?
Neutral on it, except that I don't know that if it's permitted with this water line, if the board would be so inclined to allow someone else in the future to do the same, or deny someone in the future to do the same. I guess what I'm saying is, my sense is once you set precedent, then other folks are going to say, okay, well, you did it for me, so that's something I think that the board may want to consider. But a buried water line on the county property outside of the fence, south of that fence from county property, really can't see how it's going to affect anything, except there are some irrigation ditches there. And I spoke with Mr. Yoder about that briefly, and he said he'd already addressed with the people who had interest in those irrigation ditches and the water, addressed the issue. I don't see that in any of his documentation. So I'm not sure if that is indeed the case.
Is it a domestic water line to a residence or?
No, I think their intent is to put sprinkler systems. And this will feed at least one sprinkler system that I'm aware of.
For irrigation.
A 15-inch line, yeah.
And he was,
So, does Mr. Yoder own where the proposed pivots are to the, I'm assuming that's, to the north? You see the red circles?
what he wanted to do, Commissioner Mulcher, is that he would go outside the fence area, because we definitely suggested to him that we didn't want him doing anything on the inside where it's by the airport. And so that fence, and then he wanted to tie into his existing water line further up north so that they could go ahead and do that kind of.
So that blue line right there is an existing water line by the where it looks like a proposed pivot is going to be.
I'm not sure where they picked up. They had a irrigation ditch some years back that they set up a hay gate of some sort, I guess is what they did, went underground with it. And they do have a spot where they went underneath our County Road 38. It's that concrete piece there by those two residences, just east of that first two residences there. I should say it's concrete on top where the asphalt road is. And that, I guess, is what he's wanting to do, is to tie into that same line
Yes.
from a pond, this proposed pond that he's got on this map. I think that's where he's going to store his water. He said he'd have enough fall from that pond to that sprinkler system to not have to put a pump to pump the water. He said have to put some type of mechanism there to get the sprinkler system to work. But I think he's tying into that existing line that he's got that goes underneath the county road. But I don't see that explained in.
Based on what I'm seeing here, I think maybe we need to table this and have Mr. Yoder come in and visit with us and explain, because Phil's kind of guessing what he's going to do, and if you
I talked to Mr. Yoder. We spoke with Bob Lucero as well, and again, falls out kind of like when we did the gate thing, is there's no SUP process for them to go through, but this is outside the realm normally of what is done. He asked what to do, and I thought that he might be here, but I don't see him. And so, yeah, I don't think he would have any problem with tabling it. He said he was in no major hurry, so we could ask him to come to the next
Are
meeting.
you okay with?
Well, yeah, because basically what I'm seeing is he's asking for a perpetual easement to put a 15-inch water line through. And I don't know the distance from that taxiway to the pipeline right away, if you will. I don't know that distance. I mean, it looks like it's quite a ways away, but.
Yeah, but you don't know what scale this
Yeah,
is.
right.
And maybe that's something we need to check with the FAA, that if there's any problems with that sort of thing, with them in the airport. In my mind, there's too many unanswered questions for me to really make a decision today.
And I think that that was, in terms of processing, that he already has the line. He suggested something simple to tie into it. But as Bill said, that Bill's recommendation, and he had brought that forward, that he didn't want to go with all of the underground locate requirements, and he just didn't want to mess with whatever else is under there. But I'm certain that he will be happy to come back. I'll ask him.
And there isn't any utility lines outside that right away that you know of?
Not that I'm aware of, but I'm not sure where Sunflower Valley's got their water lines.
Well, I think that's some questions that he needs to answer, and maybe jot those down as Sunflower Valley. Are we going to be getting close to them? Those sort of things. As I say, I don't have enough information here today to really make a decision. And if you do want to make a decision, that's fine.
Or is he going to tie into that existing line that goes under 38, or is he planning on putting in a new line?
Yeah,
I
that's part of it.
know what he told me, but I know the board needs it in black and white also. So.
As far as I'm concerned, I wish he was here, number one. Number two, allowing someone to get on county property, county right away, opens a can of worms for everyone in the county to do so. And I don't think that's correct to do it that way. So we need to discuss these with Mr. Yoder before we can even move forward with this. I make a motion to table.
Yeah, I agree with both of you. I'll second.
Commissioner Moultrie? Commissioner Lopez?
Yes.
And Commissioner Levin?
Yes. Maybe you can get in contact with him, and we can do it at the next regular meeting. Consider a copy machine for Los Angeles County Sheriff's Office.
Ladies, board. I submitted two different agreements for the coffee machines at the Justice Center, one for the Service Administration, one for the county jail, through Ms. Coverty's assistance there. And we felt that since the one agency is already supplying services to the county here at the courthouse, that we tried to see if we could keep everything in-house under one contract with one vendor. I'm the only one that has Xerox. The rest have Open. So I did some writing to them, and with Chrissy's help, we went and got a hold of the party there, and they sent us some agreements and contracts, and he revised it to assist us to better service what we need down there. And Xerox was very good. I'm not going to knock them, but their copies, of extra copies, was where we had ended up paying more. Bowman now has added the amount that we normally average, and then charged us extra after that. So I think it's a win deal for us to change vendors.
That was my, you know, it was extra for the copies, you had 850 or whatever. And that was mine, is how many do you make? You make 10,000 a month and it's gonna cost us an extra.
Right, where I gave him what our Abby's was, and that's what he put down as the regular amount there that he would supply us. Anything over that amount, then it would be extra.
And Christie, would you address about supplies and so on?
Well, gold is actually, I'm saying everything is included, services, maintenance, everything.
Yes.
Toner, everything is actually included in this lease. I spoke to the lady, or actually I emailed the lady from Xerox because her lease was very vague to where I asked, you know, because it doesn't really state in here about, you know, if you go over copies, but she says yes, they will charge per copy after because it looks like theirs is lower than Gobin's, but I think there's a lot of hidden costs.
On the paper, on the copies.
I think in Xerox, I think there's some hidden charges in here. And like I said, she was very vague on her email. So we've been with Gobin's. He's upfront. The quote he gave us is actually the state rate that he gave us. So, and I went back and forth with the lady from Xerox, but I didn't really quite get what I needed from her. So,
Yeah, I had some conversation with the two. I didn't tell her we're changing it until we're looking at different vendors.
no, I did tell her that it was coming to the board for both quotes. So,
Is that the same price we got for the one downstairs in the administration office? Are they comparable?
I think they are. I think they're. And I'll tell you one thing about Gobin's, they're very workable. They come immediately and they work on it. I don't know. I don't know about Xerox.
Xerox, it takes them a day or so to come down.
Yeah. So I think Gobin has a lot of business in Trinidad, so they're here, I think, on a daily basis.
And we looked at it too, Chrissy and I were discussing this, is trying to see if we could keep one vendor that supplies services to the county, rather than having 10 different ones for the same type of services that we get. Keep it under one roof. And since the county does have Gobin, and they were willing to give us service there, and not increase by the copies there, and it looks like it's higher when it does when it comes out. I think they're just, I can't remember, maybe $25 less, something like that there. But the service is what we look at too.
How many months is the lease on?
60
60
months. And they both are. They're both at 60 months.
The one is $300 a month.
But and see, that's why this other one is, I think it comes to like 194, I think. But see, if you notice, they're not including the maintenance payment that Gobin's actually put inside. He actually added for the sheriff. So that I think per copy, correct?
Yes.
See, Xerox didn't do that. They're actually just saying it's this amount, but they're not really telling you how much they're going to charge you per copy.
Yeah, the other one is 6 cents over, right? And yeah.
Yeah, that's, I did email her, but like I said, she was still very vague and we went back and forth.
So between the two of you, you both kind of feel like the Gobin situation is maybe the best.
Yes, sir.
I do, but you're gonna have it, not me.
If it doesn't, I'll just come make copies.
I'll use my machine.
I'm fine with that. I'm glad you guys went the extra mile to save some money. Thank you. Go ahead and make a motion to approve.
I will second that.
Commissioner Bolter?
Yes.
Commissioner Lopez?
Yes.
Commissioner Loudon?
Yes, make sure you state which one we're going.
Yes, we will be going with Cannon Equipment Lease and Rental.
Make sure that's in there. Consideration of new vendor sheriff's department. So I guess you're still on board.
Okay, this technically isn't like a new vendor, it's just a supply place that we will gather items for the canine dog that we have in our service now. I have Deputy Ethan Cantoya, he's our training dog. He can come up here and explain what kind of items we will purchase from this company here.
Good morning.
Morning.
So, what we get from this company, Ray Allen, is mostly stuff for the dog, like leashes, collars, harnesses, stuff like that. And like the sheriff said, it's not really a vendor, it's just something I need to set up for a billing, so they can invoice the sheriff's office. Not really a set contract, it's not an exclusive contract. It's something like we have with Regulare that's, you just go in, say that they ask for my account, I give them the sheriff's office, and they send us an invoice.
Do you mind if I ask a few questions? So, we received 10,000, it says here. You've spent 3,400 on the dog, another 3,700, but, so are you gonna send me actually like a budget of how it's, I'm saying, is money gonna continue to keep coming in?
Yes.
Because, so when I do a supplement, I can do a supplement to add this to the new line item we're gonna add, and then, so that we can kind of track it.
Right.
Back and forth.
Yeah, well, I'm tracking all the money that comes in and all the money that goes out, so I can send you copies.
I need copies of that for budget reasons and just to kind of make sure that we don't go over that.
So you've got a supplemental budget for this, or we got the money for it?
Well, we've already received $10,000 because $10,000 73 and 38 cents. $10,073.38 is the revenue we've received so far. And the only thing that's been paid out, I think, is we've paid out $3,400 for the dog.
Right.
And I haven't seen anything else that's come through.
Yeah, everything else, I don't know, it would be on receipts that I don't know if you've gotten yet.
The only thing I've seen, so that's why I just saw the letter, I see that you're actually for patrol, $3,700 for the cost of outfitting a vehicle for the dog.
Right.
$3,700. Okay.
And actually, if that's coming from the letter, the price for that came a little bit lower. That was about $2,700.
Okay. Just so that I'm saying, because I just want to make sure we don't go over.
Right.
Yeah, we do the Excel like we do for the search and rescue.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the reason I'm saying this is because in December, I'm going to do a supplement budget to any additional revenue. So this is additional revenue to where I'll throw that in there, but then I'll need to know what's going to carry over to 18.
Okay.
So that's why I want to kind of track that a little bit closely.
Okay.
So that we can.
So, according to this whole program has been 100% donation.
Absolutely.
Yes.
There is also, if you would tell them, a local dog owner shop or as
yeah, the Grateful Dog, local business over there on Linden, actually donates all the food for the dog, so we don't have to pay any cost for that. Dr. Faldudo takes care of the dog for free. Yeah, gave him all his shots, and we'll take care of his veterinary needs.
Well, that's good, because I recall the last dog we had, I think, in the records are having to get special, very expensive food.
Right. And this
Yeah,
one was
I've
also
seen the dog down there at the Honey Playoff.
Yeah.
He was going berserk.
Yeah,
You still have hearing left, or?
I got a little bit. Yeah, he's just a puppy working on his training. I've only had him here for about 2 weeks now, so me and him are still getting used to each other.
That's cool. And it looks like he's going to be a good dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, just to add for the board, we have the deputy chief here, Jay Harrison, who's in the police department. He brought in the K-9 program in the police department, so we're working close with him, and he'll get with Deputy Cantor here to assist him in some of the training that he goes, and it's all paid by outside sources. County's now putting it down there.
Is this K-9 unit going to be able to help assist with the search and seizure of illegal marijuana grow operations in the future?
Yes, matter of fact, I had a conversation with the regulatory board, and we're trying to arrange to see if they come down to some exams of some of the growth that we have under surveillance now to make sure they're in legal grounds on there and being abiding. If not, then we check. There's a couple that are owned by business out of our county. They're owned by companies in Denver.
The reason I say is because Ms. Fraser can probably include that possibly for expenditures under the marijuana impact grant for next year.
Oh, yeah.
That's great, yes.
Yeah, we want to check the compliance that they have there.
And I guess I missed something here. You've already got $10,000 because in my letter you had 24. So or maybe I read it wrong.
The goal is to reach 10,000, and they did, because $10,000 has already been deposited to the treasurer's office.
Yeah, this letter doesn't.
Yeah, I've already seen all of that.
As I was raising money.
Yeah, see, I know they did, I'm saying, I already saw the 10,000.
And I do apologize, Commissioner. I went ahead and I put the letters that I had at my disposal for some background information for you, and time did indeed change. I don't see a date on it, but, so, yeah, Christie's on top of the matter.
And the question I have, that if you leave the sheriff's department, what happens to the dog? Because we've had this situation before.
Absolutely. And that was kind of the conversation I had with the sheriff and the undersheriff when I pursued this. I don't have any intentions of leaving the sheriff's office. Anytime in the near future. I grew up in this community. I plan on staying with the sheriff's office as long as my career can last here.
But if you're the one that can do it after the leave.
If he'd happen to leave, the dog belongs to the sheriff's office. Even though it was paid by funds from the citizens, it's their dog and would remain to stay here.
Okay, well, with the last dog that we had here, it left with it because they said, no, nobody else can do anything with it. And I guess that's the thing that's rolling around in the back of my mind, that if we leave, what happens to the dog?
Depending on how long a period of time that you would leave, I'll call the deputy chief up here. He can probably address that better than I can.
Are you guys sharing this dog, or is this
No,
a...
they have their own dogs. They have 2 dogs of their own.
Good morning to you as well. So, just a little background on myself. I've been training animal dogs for over 18 years. So, I came from northern Colorado, where I was with the Larman County Sheriff's Office, and trying quite a few different agencies throughout the state, as well as other states, and canine handling of dogs. So, we've had success in the past in transitioning one dog from another, whether that the current handler has been promoted or moved to other agencies. We've been able to transition the dogs to new handlers, so that shouldn't be an issue.
Okay, that eases my mind a lot.
May I ask your name just for our...
Jay Harrison.
Jay Harris.
Yeah. Harrison.
Harrison?
Yeah.
He's the deputy chief for the police department.
Okay.
And I'm a certified trainer and handler, so that obviously the sheriff's office will be joining in with us in our monthly training, whether it's once to 2 times a month, depending on the schedule of training the dogs. Keeping them certified, the handler and the dog certified, up to date on everything.
Where does the training take place?
It'll be all over the county. Wherever we need to go to use it, whether it's going to be out in the woods or if it's going to be in warehouses or anything like that, and that's where we're going to train. So these dogs are dual certified, so they do narcotics as well as handler protection.
I think it'd be beneficial for the media to maybe have be witness to one of those trainings.
Oh yeah.
That way we can promote it and let the people in our community know that we're trying the best we can for local police and sheriff's departments for their safety.
I didn't know if did you say those dogs were trained explosives?
I'm sorry.
Is it 100% narcotics, or can you send out explosives?
No. They'll just do narcotics.
Just narcotics.
Explosives. So we would have to get another dog for explosives.
Yeah.
So, if there's any other questions. Thank you.
Thank you. So basically, then we're just you're asking to open up another vendor so they can build.
So we can do invoices and POs and all that rather than having to be up front and use credit card.
And so this vendor basically, they specialize in
dogs or dogs,
yes.
Police dogs and stuff like that, military.
Yeah, you can't buy the harnesses and stuff like that at Walmart or any place like that. You have to get a special made.
Okay.
And Deputy, are you continuing to fundraise
Yes.
for this expenditure?
Yes.
So it'll be completely 100% funded?
Absolutely.
With no cost. That's a good
Yeah.
program.
There's just one question that is again pure logistics, is who signs to set up the account is one thing, but then who would be the signing authority? It's not a contract, it's just
to have a vendor, get credit there per se.
So they would treat this, Christie, as just a normal billing process.
And Melinda would just enter it in just like she does any other invoice.
Yeah.
To
They
me,
just need
it's
that
kind
signed.
of like a credit app.
Yes.
That's me.
Okay.
Yes.
That's what it kind of looks like to me.
Yes.
Yeah.
I make a motion to approve this new Ray Allen manufacturing.
I'll second.
Commissioner Lopez,
Yes.
Commissioner Mulcher,
Yes.
Commissioner Loudon.
I'm probably gonna vote yes, but I'm really nervous about if the donations quit coming in, who's gonna get hung with this. That's the one thing that I have is now everything looks good, but 4 or 5 years down the road, maybe there's no donations coming in. Where is that money gonna come from? And I think it's a good program. I'm a dog lover, and I think they're, for the most part, smarter than 99% of the public. But that's the one thing
Except you guys.
that bothers me a little bit.
No, I understand your point, Mr. Loudon. I mean, I have a philosophy, nothing's forever. We have no idea what tomorrow's gonna bring. I mean, today, our life probably in support of this county lies till tonight's election is over. So we have no idea where we're gonna go either. So it may be a whole moot point that we're discussing here this morning, depending what happens.
Yeah.
You know, so I can't answer that question and say what's gonna happen in 5 years. If I could, I'd be rich.
But I would like to state that,
I thought you were. Rich.
Rich in the Lord.
sorry, I wanted to state that, the assurances from the doctor and from the dog food person, that they've, offered this for the life of the dog, right? For the life of the dog. So, some of this is a bit allayed, so.
Yeah. Before we vote, what's the dog's name?
We named him Gator.
Gator.
He thinks he is a gator.
Yeah.
Well, the other day, they were.
Yeah, he's not talking.
I vote yes. Oh, we got 10 minutes. Consideration of sheriff use of empty space at Justice Center.
I don't know if you have questions or, the location there is well, the police department has moved down, it's just sitting there. The county told them to pay for the services in that side of the building. We could utilize it, not because we have more people, just that we have equipment that we had stored. We were able to get between the board here and giving us back to the elements that we have for our firing and training back there for shooting. This would help us immensely with, now that we have the K9 plus our search and rescue team and our mounted patrol that we're putting together for search and rescue also to put in there, also to give more room for some of the equipment we have. I believe all of you have been to our facility, and it's not really what we wish we could have in that building, the way it was built, but we have to live with what there is now. We're running out of space and not being able to put stuff in there. We have to lock them in certain closets and or outside the CERS. Plus, then the major one too is that we have the use of that vault there that the DA came to the board to ask for us to use it. Our vault, when that building was built, they didn't have a vault. They had built that after for us. It has already extended its time there because it's built and we have no other place. We need that extra vault there, or the county helps build us another one. And where they're going to build it, I don't know where they put it attached to the outside backside. I don't know where they put it, but we are already at an impasse there for space for evidence that we've had. When we first got there, I was able to get a Connex from the Army that we used at the beginning until Mr. Carter and the commissioners voted to use some of the revenue off the 1 cent sales tax to add another parcel to the building there to have an evidence vault there. And that one's still has to have some work done on it now too. So we're asking that we can utilize that extra space in there so that we can be able to have a little bit more room for our services that we provide to the county. DLC, I've talked with them, they're willing to go ahead and lease one of the rooms that are there for their services. Right now they meet in the front foyer. So they're out there with all the probationary people they have and other regular people that are coming in for calls from the county or services that from the dispatch. They're all in there. Some people are kind of like Jerry, they'll come to our side of the door to knock, so they'll have to go through there with all the parolees that are in there. That would give them a close outside thing then, all away from the front foyer there where they're all seated waiting on Wednesdays and Thursdays.
So, how much of the room are you gonna need, and how much is gonna be that we may be able to find another use for?
I've checked around, Commissioner Down, and I haven't found one person that's willing to rent it down there, because where the vault is at now, if we were to utilize it, you can't have anybody else in there, because it's right there in the open.
Right.
So it's, like I said, the architect of that building, it wasn't good, but we have to suffer with it because it's there. So, like I said, with GOC, their office would be up on the corner there, where it would be away from there. And what I like about it too, it's got a gate there that's there, so, and it can be locked for the canine dog, or just to keep it away from where the bolt's at.
So basically, DOC is using it for probation.
They're using the front foyer, they're not using it in the offices, but they're only in at least one of the offices.
Okay. What if we can get more probation down there?
Yeah, that building was, when it was built, it was to be used for public safety only.
Yes.
And probation on the 3rd floor is part of the public safety entity. Did the city finish the repairs or repairing and painting and leaving it the way they got it? Received it according to their lease?
No, not to speak for you. I did have a conversation with the chief, and he's willing to buy the paint. And I was trying to get with GOC to see when I could schedule their inmates down there to come paint it, because it's a lot of rooms that have been painted. But he's willing to buy the paint. In the email I sent to all of you here, I also asked that if we did get it, that some of the ones in sales tax be used to remove that carpet, but tile. Carpet is not a place where you have 24/7 people in there. Tile is what's needed. We have to replace it. And I don't know, some of those rooms might have tile underneath them because the carpet was came in later.
Well, there's a carpet tile guy right there. Maybe we can have him take a look at it down the road. Yeah, I think the repairs need to be done before we move on anything. And then I understand your plight for room, but I'd like to see the repairs being made and the room ready to go before we make a decision on expanding or allowing more rooms. Because if we start moving into it, then the repairs will get put off.
No, I understand that. And I would agree with that. And I mentioned that to Mrs. Fraser too, that he had willing to buy the paint and whatever else. I said, I don't control that. That's between the county and the city. The walls and the carpet and stuff like that.
If I may, there are some other issues that we will be discussing later, but it's in terms of the E911 board and the amount of dollars that were available, that were budgeted to pay for that, in addition to this outstanding payment. And so have nothing to do with the space itself, but with the fact that we do have some resolution that we need to do for working with the city on who owes what and how much, if that's the way to put it. And it's that we have an outstanding bill, they have an outstanding bill. We're negotiating perhaps how we're going to deal with it. And that has nothing to do with the use of the space and the fix, but I think it's something that we will have in later discussion.
What came first, the E911 agreement with the city, or the city utilizing that facility and cohabitating with the sheriff's department?
Well, what I
It was when the referendum was put out to pass that jail bound, it was on the basis that it would be shared by police, sheriff's, ambulance, and the coroner. They had thought about putting the fire department building in the back, but that didn't go through. So then they built it, and they were supposed to also have courts involved, but it didn't go that far, so they just made it a justice center. The agreement then that was made with the city from the Board of County Commissioners at that time, my first 5 years as sheriff, I paid all the utilities for that whole building. Until I got with Mr. Corder at that time, who was the manager, that I couldn't afford it, because I wasn't being given that much in my budget, so the city had to be charged. The services for the agreement with the city and the county, that one came first when the building was going to be built, and the agreement for the referendum to be passed as opposed to the city, and they pushed hard on that to get those votes to pass it. E911 came back, and Commissioner Lujan was there at that time, when they agreed with the 911 on monies that would be appropriated for the services for the dispatch center, since the police department is the one that owns and controls the dispatch center. We had to pay that share of use. Years back, they tried to go in and try to see if usage could be utilized and how much it is used. That didn't work because there are some agencies maybe use it 0.5%. So you're going to charge them $50 a month, but so it didn't. It went by the wayside. And the dispatch is a service that is needed for services throughout this county, which is the largest county. We've had some other repeaters and other assistance from other agencies that have helped us with communications. As search and rescue, I have a tower with Mr. Andretti up on his property by Fisher's Peak, which helps us there for search and rescue when we're up there to have communications. The fire departments have now put their own towers and been able so that we can use those towers for communications. So, I mean, dispatch is a needed thing. And the city manager, when we had the meeting there, he was not going to deny us the use, even though the city and the county were arguing over the amounts of monies that they could pay now. He was still going to continue that, which was then a benefit to all the citizens of Trinidad and the county, because then we were still going to be able to be dispatch and EMS.
If I may, what Mr. Casillas is alluding to, Sheriff Casillas is alluding to, is that apparently prior to my arrival and prior to the new city manager, there was an agreement, there was a determination and an agreement made as to how much would be paid for the E911 service. And the issue, I guess, is that those folks are no longer here. And so we have, we believe that it was sound that we relied on what had been told to us. We had emails, and I will say that we have not fully provided them. I spoke of them, but we do have emails indicating that that was the agreement. Now, since the city's position is that since we could provide what we had budgeted for E911, which is $42,000, that they were expecting, how much was that, Christy? How much was the bill that they wanted us to pay?
$115,000.
Not to get off course, the reason why I asked the question is because the repairs are a separate lease on that. It's a separate agreement. E911 is completely different. So if we're holding us hostage for wanting more money, E911, that's a totally different story. The story we're talking about right now is the repairs on the building, the lease that they had, and they're supposed to make it back to the way they received it, and they've yet to do so. So that's my concern.
Yes.
It's not a tit for tat. It's just
Well,
basically
the
a
IGA talks about rent, and that's what they don't want to pay us is the
rent.
They owe rent.
They owe rent, but I think it's since we owe for the E911.
They're two separate issues.
How much in repairs estimate? I mean, how bad is it?
I don't know, because we haven't taken control of it, and we didn't know whether it was going to be with the city and the county. So I know the paint, the chief would be willing to buy 10 gallons of paint to paint that building, which probably would be sufficient there. But he has nobody to do it, so he asked if I could get DOC to do it, because they did our building once before.
Well, why don't we move forward with getting maintenance, Kenny,
And also with the city, with the E911, I'm surprised we didn't have an IGA with the city. Somewhere to be found with.
That's a much more complex question. It's 10 o'clock, we need to start our public hearing.
With E911, there is an agreement for E911.
But that's
So as far as the empty space, I think we need to get that looked at and get some bids and see what's going to cost us, and then we can make a decision once we get it repaired.
Is that going to be from the treasurer, or are you asking me, or I would be willing to do that and get with him to get different vendors down there to remove the carpet, put tile into the wall?
I think the two of you can work that out.
I agree with you.
okay.
I make a motion to table it till that happens.
Second. Roll call.
Commissioner Lopez.
Yes.
Commissioner Mulcher.
Yes.
Commissioner Loudon.
Yes.
Can I make a motion for recess, 5 minutes?
It's after 10 o'clock, I'm sorry.
All right.
Yeah, go ahead. All right, 5 minute recess. 5 minute recess before we start the public hearing.
And for any of those that here who do want to address at the public hearing, would you please sign the sign-in sheet?
I'm going to convene this public hearing at 10:08. The purpose of this hearing is an application BR 2017-003 by Pecos River Ranch and Resort LLC, who is requesting to vacate approximately 3 miles of County Road 85.5 located within the township 33, 34, and 35, ring 61, 63. For complete legal description, contact us, County Land Use Board. And application BR 2017-04 by Patricia Jones, who is requesting to vacate approximately 4 miles of County Road 85.5 located within the township of 34 and 35 in range 62. So that's the basis of this hearing today. We have a sign-up sheet. I have 3. Is there anybody else? There's 3 people on here that want to speak. Looks like this has come before the, well, I can't keep anything. Thank you. Is land use, is Bob here? Bob, would you like to give us some background on this, please? You'll have to be sworn in and state your name.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you shall give in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
You may state your name for the record.
My name is Robert Lucero. I'm the Land Use Director of Land Use for Los Angeles County. The 2 applications that you have before you were heard back in September 11, 2017. The 2 items kind of go together because there's 2 separate property owners, but the road traverses through both properties. That's why there's an application by Pecos River Ranch and Resort and Patricia Young. We heard this, we had several public comments at our planning commission meeting. I did receive a couple of phone calls against the closure of the road, but they didn't give me the phone number, they didn't say who it was, so I never was able to call them back. They just said they were a taxpayer and they were against So with that, I guess we can turn it over.
Is there, with this road closure, is there anybody gonna be landlocked?
Everybody that is notified of the closure, does not appear that anybody's gonna be landlocked. I have the certified letters, that were sent out, for this. So I didn't get any comments back.
Okay, so if this goes through, then there's nobody gonna get left out.
Nobody's gonna be left out. There was only, I got a call from the city of Raton, which is on the other side where it exits Colorado. I think they were gonna contact their officials over there to see exactly where the road that ends on that side. But I haven't heard back from them.
Would it get into the state line, or?
Well, I guess there's a gate up there, and I'm assuming that's where it gets.
Okay. All right, do you have any questions?
What's the name of the lake that it accesses to on the Colorado side?
Well, it would access like Lake Dorothy up in that area, which Lake Dorothy is in Colorado, but I don't know if anybody accesses through there. Most people go around on I-25. I'm not sure the reason why. I mean, maybe because it's a rough road. And I don't know, Mac, you may remember, this came before the board as a single owner several years ago, at that time. But now there's part of the ranch is sold, so there's two separate owners.
And that's why there's the two sets.
That's why there's two applications.
And the planning commission denied the vacate?
Planning commission made a recommendation to deny applications. The minutes you have before you are draft set of minutes, approvals to the next planning commission. But it was a quite lengthy meeting, and a lot of comments on it. So. I'm not sure, I don't, one of the representatives from Lake is here. I don't see a representative from Pecos River Ranch Resort here.
I don't have any questions.
We'll take Mr. Bob Walton.
Excuse me, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly affirm, under the penalty of perjury, that the testimony you shall give in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
You may state your name for the record.
Bob Walton.
I know that you can get that microphone up tall enough for you.
I try to pull on it every time. Yeah, guys, if my application is the 2017-004, if you guys can look back, it's not really listed by page, but as towards the back, there's actually a map that shows the closure points of where we're asking the road to be closed, and then Kent Rice from Pecos River Ranch.
Yeah, well, let us get to the map first.
Would you hold it up?
Kind of towards the end.
This one.
It's right before some pictures.
Ready? Yeah. It's almost the last page.
There's lots of paper in there.
It's right before the train.
That right past it.
me see, I don't have it there.
Is it toward the end of the?
Yeah, it's,
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, just to make it easier to understand exactly where this road is located, you guys can see to the south there, there's a kind of a gray area down there, and you'll see Lake Maloya is printed there. That dotted line is the Colorado and New Mexico state line. So the questions that you guys had before, that should clarify. From Lake Maloya, there's a paved highway from the state line south all the way down into Raton, New Mexico. So as stated before, that's the way that people access Lake Maloya and Lake Dorothy. And then you can see where Lake Dorothy is up to the north of the state line right there. But people access it through I-25 and they go through the paved highway up the canyon through Sugar Canyon State Park. Then when it hits the county line, it turns into a dirt road. And then that dirt road continues on through. And then that's where that line is. It says proposed closure point, Sugar Canyon Ranch. That's our gate right there. And so that's what we were proposing, that the road be closed from that point on north, and then it goes down through Pecos River Ranch, and then he is proposing that it gets closed on the south end of his property. So then the road joins our property, and so that's why we're asking that it be closed to that area.
Okay, so basically from where Mr. Ron Martin lives to the state line would be closed, between the two of you.
Well, we're just asking, because Raton, they have property from the state line to our gate. So we're only asking what goes through our property. So there would still be a piece of dirt road from the state line to that proposed closure point.
Right, so you're
How many miles between where you propose to want to close it to, is that through the city of Raton property?
It's probably about a mile, maybe half a mile. It's just a short little span there.
Has there been any incidents over the years, use of that road that's damaged the property, or vandalism, or fires, or public use?
Well, what we have to deal with, and why we're asking for the closure, is because when people come through there, we have gates that we run livestock and horses, on that property. So there have been times that gates have been left open, so then the cattle go where they're not supposed to. So then that causes us time and money to try to get them all gathered up again. And then there's, of course, debris, trash, beer bottles on the road that we have to clean, and that's up to us to try to keep maintained. And then also there's no speed limit on that road, so there's been 2 different occasions where I don't have a picture of it, but the county road goes right through our headquarters where my parents live, and then we live right there. And the road just goes right through where we're working cattle, and people just go through there whenever and however fast they want. So on 2 different occasions, one of my sons was almost hit by a vehicle going through there. So that's one of the other main concerns, is our safety. There's been vandalism down in the state park area. The actual, where they have all their machinery was broken into. So the crime rate, in our areas is skyrocketing. So that's another huge concern of ours, is our personal safety. And then safety of others, that when people traverse that road, and I don't know if you guys have ever had a chance to drive that road, if you guys know the condition of that road. Mr. Dorenkamp can attest to the difficultiness of trying to maintain that road, because it's such a steep grade, it's very difficult to maintain. We've even asked that it not be maintained through our property because of the grade. If they try and take the topsoil off, it takes the vegetation off, and then the first rain or big snow we get, it just washes. So it's pretty much a road that can't be maintained, but yet it's still being called a county road. So people feel that they can go through there. So we stop people on motorcycles, 2-wheel motorcycles, little cars that aren't 4-wheel drive, because we've had people come through there that we weren't able to stop, and their cars got destroyed by the time they get to our place. And they're real upset. They say, well, why is this called a county road? Because it shouldn't be a county road. And even if you guys find maps that show this road, it's listed as a Jeep trail on maps. You can find it. It's printed on there. Years and years ago, they named it as Jeep trails. It's not really a county road. I mean, we travel a county road just to the east of us. It's up through Trinchera Pass. It's a beautiful county road. It's, you know, if people want to see a beautiful scenery, I mean, it's maintained and it's safe. But our road that goes through our property is very dangerous. There have been people that have come through there after snowstorms. We have to go up there and try to pull them out. And if we don't find them, or if they can't walk back to where we live, you know, it's dangerous. Somebody could get stranded up there and die, or, you know, some bad things could happen. So along with that, one of our concerns is, of course, our livestock. That's our livelihood. But also a concern of ours is we are a ranch that have hunting income as well. So when people come through there on four-wheelers and motorcycles and four-wheel drive vehicles, that kind of chases the wildlife off. And when we met before with the county planners, one of their concerns, and you know they voted against the closure, of course, but one of their concerns was that the wildlife wouldn't be able to traverse this road if it was closed. And you guys can look and see in that it did not make sense to me, because they felt if the road was closed, the wildlife couldn't use the road then. Believe me, I was shocked. I thought they were actually kidding. But this is one of the reasons why they voted against it. But if you guys were to ever go up there and see this road, it is not a county road. It shouldn't be called a county road. It shouldn't be open to the public to use. Now, people who will stand up here and say it's wonderful, and they take their four-wheel drive vehicles over it, well, that's a four-wheel drive trail. And should the county keep that open for the few people that use it for four-wheeling and that kind of stuff? So that's why we're asking you guys to see it our side. And Mr. Kinrice, I know he would have been here, but for some reason they must have not been notified or knew that this meeting was here. So.
And Mr. Rice is the owner of Pecos.
Yes.
Bob, on the hunting deal, I think this road's closed between October 1st and the end of May.
Yes.
And so on the hunting deal, I think it would only affect archery and muzzleloader.
Right, and our turkey season, of course. But when people are traveling during the summertime, you know, that's when we're trying to get our wildlife to come in there, feel comfortable in that canyon. Because if you guys come through there, you would see that most of where our ranch is kind of down in the valley, and that county road runs right through there. So anything on both sides of the canyon, they're going to see and hear anything that goes through there. So before hunting season starts, we really try to make it to where the wildlife come in there, feel safe. So then when our hunters come in there, you know, they'll actually have wildlife to hunt.
I would like to address quickly, and ask Selena, did you notify both parties that this meeting was going to occur?
Yes, and it was published in the paper as well.
They were contacted by phone?
Anything else? Questions? I think from Mr. Dorkin, but after that, yeah, we'll go through them, Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Bob.
Howard Mackey.
John will be going
You're smarter than I am.
Okay. Sorry about that.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly affirm, under the penalty of perjury, that the testimony you shall give in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
You may state your name for the record.
Howard Lackey, and I just am here in opposition to closing of 85.5. I haven't grown up in this country and driven that road since I was a wee kid, going up to the ski basin when the Waltons had it and everybody else. So I've gotten pretty familiar with that part of the world, and I understand private property rights, and I understand there are idiots out there in the world that don't respect private property rights, but that happens just about any place. And part of what we do, and not only is it for four-wheel, it's also for hiking and biking and a lot of different aspects that Los Animas County is now becoming noted for. Because as the last best place in Colorado, there are places like this that are very important for people to come down and spend money. We've been on a project where we've started notifying and identifying mountain bike trails throughout Los Animas County. I know Mr. Loudon was involved with the state years ago when Colorado started talking about trail systems and stuff in the state. Well, as we all know, the rest of the state is so filled up right now that Los Animas County has become a very attractive place. And bike riders are people who spend a lot of money, upwards of $300 a day. And when 1B passes, that money goes directly to the coffers of the county. Some of the things that Mr. Walton has talked about are important issues, gates. You know, I was brought up that you always leave the gate the way you found it, which is closed. If you're out someplace else on a county road or something like that, and you see trash, you pick it up. It's just maintaining what we've got in this part of the world, people that respect that. Two things can happen with this. It's closed off, we lose it to the folks of Los Animas County and everybody else that wants to come down here and see what we've got to offer. And it is truly one of the most spectacular parts of the state. And there's a lot of access that comes from Colorado by horseback up into James John and that area, so they don't have to go through the Coggins test and all other different things they have to go through if you go through New Mexico, which if anybody's had horses knows it's a big pain. So that's one other issue. Plus the fact that I think the usage of the road as it continues doesn't really need to be a maintenance issue for the county, because there's a lot of people and groups, and there's a four-wheel drive group in this county that will actually help do some of that because they want to maintain the road and make sure it's got access. Carlos Sandoval every year takes folks out of the Branson Trinchera area to do a four-wheeler over that picnic, all those things that are traditional to their usage in the area. And the fact that it's a great part of the state, which those of us that understand that, and the Waltons, of course, also, will make sure that it's taken care of. Now, can you speak for everybody out there? No. But you sure can raise hell if they're screwing up our part of the world. And one of the things about Colorado, and their attorney for the ranch on the east side there was talking about Jeep trails and everything else. They live in Durango, the Forest Service. Well, the Forest Service has the ability to close off roads and restrict access and things like that when it's appropriate. And that's kind of what the county's done over here. Would I want to be up there in December? No, because I've had to pull friends of mine out of snow drifts. You know, and that's, you only got to do that once, and you know you don't want to do that again. So access can be restricted with road signage and things like that. Only certain types of usage, horseback, mountain bikes, four-wheel, that type of thing, and only certain times of the year. October through May, I think, is a good time of the year. On the hunting aspect, I've hunted that country for years and years up on top, and some of the other areas, Vermejo Park, where, you know, automobile traffic really does not affect game animals as much as people think. They get used to it just like anything else. And that country's very tough down in there, it's very thick. And if I was an elk, I'd be up on top, either on their meadows up on top or someplace else, and that's just a natural thing. And talking with the guides, a couple of the guides that are on the East Range, Pecos River Range, they pretty much said the same thing. So, you know, there's a lot of different things, and the access that I think, I was at that meeting when they were talking about lack of access to animals, and that kind of confused me too. I wasn't really quite sure what they were trying to make a point there, other than access for gaming fish to come across up through there to check and that type of thing. But it's a jewel that Los Animas County has, and it's a jewel that's going to pay for itself in a relatively short period of time. We've already got folks that are making plans to be down here next summer to actually ride that, and on mountain bikes, which are very, as you know, eco-friendly. And it's just something that I think would be a mistake for the county to restrict. These kind of things are going to really generate a talking point for Los Animas County and everything we're trying to do, because we really are the last best place in Colorado, and a lot of people want to come and see what we got to offer. So let's don't restrict what that is, and let's open it up to everyone. And with the landowners and everybody else involved, there can be coalitions that maintain, clean, do all those kind of things, so it's not an extra burden on the county. And there are a lot of people that will volunteer to do that. The River Project in town has been a good example of that. Purgatory Watershed Partnership, from actually the collaborers all the way through. You know, there's lots of different things that can be done to make sure that it's maintained properly, and it's a joy for everybody involved. And last but not least, as Pecos River, when they bought the property, they knew there was an access through there. It's been there for over 100 years. So it's definitely an established trail. Thank you.
Thank you, Howard.
Carla Sandoval.
If you don't mind, can I speak from over here?
I'd really like for you to come up here so we can get you on the
All right.
on the TV.
Just give me some time.
All the time you need.
Thank you. Got it.
Oh, sorry. Didn't realize that.
All right. Raise my right hand.
Do you solemnly affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you shall give in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
You may state your name for the record.
Carla Sandoval. I'm a citizen here of Los Angeles County my entire life. We own a branch over there towards 85.5 on the road that we were talking about. As a young child, we used to ride that road up and down all the time. But Mr. Walton's right. It's nothing but a Jeep trail, and it's only 8 miles. It doesn't lock anybody in. There's nobody that has to get to home or anything like that up in those roads, okay? And I know the county commissioners were approached earlier this year by residents who live west of Trinidad asking that a certain part of road up there would be considered a county road or adopted as a county road. You have people living up there that need to get back and forth. This road we're talking about is only open 4 months out of the year to a small group of people who own 4-wheel drives. I really don't know how many people would like to hike that 8 miles up there. It is a tough road, and with bikes and stuff like that. I think that the county can actually do a better job of closing this road and try and work with Mr. Lackey and his group of people to find other places that might be much more suitable for people to come to Los Angeles County. 8 miles isn't going to make or break the county. Any questions?
You reside in that area?
Yes. Yes, I'm a 5th generation rancher in that area. Down at the bottom where County Road 12.5 meets 85.5, we own east of that, approximately a little over 8,000 acres.
Do you see an impact of a lot of people traveling your county road at a high rate of speed or anything in that area?
The only thing that I notice now anymore is there's a lot more people, I don't know where they're from, but they're dumping their trash along the county road all the way from Trinidad towards the gun range, past the gun range. We've had people who kind of like show up at our house thinking that it's a public place like state land or whatever. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You know, I understand Mr. Lackey's desire to find these kind of places. You know, there's not many, like he said. And he said that in these kind of circumstances, there's a lot of good people, but there are some bad people. And where me and my wife have our kids and my parents live, all we need is one bad person, and it'll ruin our life. That's why we need you guys' help. Because times in this area, and you guys know it, times in this area are getting bad. And I worry about that. If you guys, you know, that page right after that map that I showed you, I took some pictures of this county road. If you guys will look at those, and I know the black and whites probably didn't show up very good. I remember 3 years ago when I had this meeting and we were meeting with the county. They thought I'd just taken a bunch of pictures and said that there's supposed to be a road there. These are the pictures that show this road. And the people that want to use them are people with four-wheel drives and these dirt bikes. Does that really consider, I mean, does that make the definition of what a county road should be? There's, like I said, there's a road just east of us, a wonderful county road that people can go and get up on Johnson Mason, and it's beautiful over there. But what we're trying to do is protect ourselves and our livelihood. You know, we pay taxes to this county as well. We have a livestock income and a hunting income, and we pay taxes to this county. And if that's hurt and that's destroyed, we'll sell off the cattle. And it's getting harder and harder to find people to come in there and hunt that property because they have to deal with this all the time. And I know, Mr. Moulter, you said, you know, it's only during a certain part, but hunters understand that it's a year-long process. And if it's disturbed in May, in June, in July, it's going to affect October and November in those hunting seasons. So we ask for you guys' help, and it's up to you guys now. Thank you.
Mr. Dornkamp, could you?
Do you solemnly affirm, under the penalty of perjury, that the testimony you shall give in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
State your name, please.
Phil Dornican, Los Angeles County Road and Bridge.
Questions I have is exactly what Mr. Walton stated, the legal side of things, which is considered, in my opinion here, is it's declared a county road. In your definition, Mr. Dornkamp, on any other county road, how do we maintain them on a schedule? How often are they kind of prepared or worked over, say, a different county road other than this one? Does this one meet the same standards of other county roads?
The state of Colorado, I spoke with people who take care of the highway user tax funding, which is where we get our funding from. I think 85% of our funding for the Road and Bridge Department. Their definition of a road in our case is that it is passable. They haven't said a frequency with which it needs to be maintained. It doesn't say to a certain standard of sorts where you gotta have 4% crowns, 22 feet from shoulder to shoulder, or whatever the case may be. They told me it's been some years back that it is passable. Is this road in rough shape? Yes, it is, but this is a dilemma. Whenever this was brought up some years back, I was requested at that time to leave it rough because Commissioner Franklin, we can take in heavy equipment, we can shape that road up and make it a decent year-round passable road. We ended up having to commit a lot of crews to snow removal and to maintaining them. The property owners themselves asked us to let it be rough. Don't go in there and disturb the vegetation. Don't go in and disturb a bunch of rocks and everything else because what it does, it promotes erosion. So we didn't. And these pictures here, yeah, they're not good pictures. I just wonder what time of the year. I think I see snow. I don't know if that's snow or if that's part of the picture itself. But if it's in between October and 1st of June, yeah, we're not out there maintaining the road because we closed it at that time. And as far as county-wide on maintenance on our roads, a lot of that depends on the weather. A lot of that depends on the condition of the road. If it's been dry for a long time, what we try and do is just, if we have washboards on the roads, we're going to try and cut the loose gravel to mitigate those washboards. But if we get moisture on roads, over in the eastern part of the county, we'll blade roads. In the western part, we'll blade roads. If it's dry, we'll try not to. So, no, there is no set frequency or location where we maintain roads.
And the money we spent last year was about $3,500 to go up there? Is that what
I would guess so.
it's saying in the report?
That's what it says.
Yes, in the report. How much money do we receive on approximately on 8.5 miles?
We receive about $1,800 a mile. Of course, that changes through the formula, the rougher the terrain, the more, but $1,800 a mile, so whatever the math is on that.
So we get about 10, 20,000 on this deal per mile?
I don't have my calculator. $1,500 on 8 miles would be 8, and half of that again is 12, 13, 14,000.
Is there any safety issues that with this road?
During the wintertime, there would be, especially if we're not doing any snow removal, which we don't. There could be potentially, but we've got road closed signs, and I appreciate Walton's calling me and reminding me to put those signs up, because I decided to forget about them, but they remind me to put those signs up in October. So, with those signs up, road closed, and we also think on this side have where four-wheel drive, road, we have signs up stating that. So yeah, I guess potentially there could be safety issues if someone ran the signs got stuck up there in the drift.
Does the county have any necessity, as far as road and bridge, to be traveling that road other than to maintain it? Get to another point or anywhere else behind there? Is there a need for us to be up there?
Just the other end, but if we have issues up around the lakes, like the culvert that's passed, summer we'll go through that tunnel, come out that direction, go through the port, get through the port and come up the other side.
So you
Because
come
we can't haul equipment up that county road from this side to the top.
So if you're taking a piece of equipment up there, you've either got to walk it up or take it around.
That's correct, and if we're hauling it, we're taking it around. If it's like a maintainer, we're maintaining road width, obviously, we're going to maintain it, go up this side.
What kind of a grade do you have? I mean, what is the steepness of the grade?
I'm guessing, I would guess there's probably some grades in there that are 7-8%, maybe on the steep. I think Walter probably have a better idea on that than I do. There's some pretty steep areas.
Do we have any need for the state of Colorado to have access for this road as well? Have they implied anything that they need access?
They've not mentioned anything to me. I think they may have addressed something in the planning commission hearing. I believe, Commissioner, I'm just trying to remember off the top of my head. I think that they did address that, I believe.
This is a really gray area. Read over this pack and the hearing that they had with the planning commission, and I'd like to investigate this issue further, and before I can come to a conclusion or make a decision based on the recommendation to or deny or not to deny. As far as I'm concerned, I would like to investigate it more and get more input from the state as well as possibly other people from the LACBCC groups and also talk to landowners a little more in depth on these issues. The $14,000 they received is not that much money for the mileage, but before I can make a decision, I think I need some time to really evaluate this in more depth.
Well, the options that we have today is we can either approve, deny, or vacate for 30 days. We got 30 days to make this decision. So
we can table it for 30 days.
Table it for 30 days.
I'd like to do that if that's. I'd like to make a motion to table for 30 days.
Before I entertain it, is there anybody else out there who would like to say anything?
To repeat here. One of the things that's going to be pretty obvious in the next few years, and it's already kind of there, is that it doesn't really cost the county anything to keep that road. And right now, your return is 3 times on the $3,500 that you spent on it last year. I want you to take that figure and figure 1,000 people that are going to be visiting this country, this part of the world, that are spending $300 a day on average for a family of say 3 or 4. And just look at what that impact with something that really costs the county nothing to maintain, to what that's going to do for the economy here in the community, along with the wilderness hunting and the cattle. It's just another piece of that puzzle that Los Animas County has not had for a lot of years. We've always been one pony town, and now we're getting to the point where something's changing. A lot of things are changing, and people are really interested in what's going on here. I realize it's a hard thing to swallow because we've been down here by ourselves for so many years that it's really something completely different. But it's a process that we need to really look at, because everybody always said we got to diversify, we got to diversify, we got to diversify. And Lord knows the county knows we need to diversify. Tourism is one of those diversifications, and you have to look at that. You have to look at the art community. You have to look at the real estate. People are buying real estate. A college roommate of mine bought the old Bible place out there, 9,000 acres, and he's adamantly opposed to closing the road because he understands what this part of the country is like. Then of course you've got the cannabis industry. We've got to look at all these different things and how are they going to grease the wheels of government and everybody else in this community and this county that deserve a better life. And you know, we're at that cusp, and I think you guys understand that, and we just need to maintain the fact that what we've got, we should probably share. Okay, thank you.
Could you please contact me sometime this week? Sure. We get together, I'm sure. Thanks, you're welcome.
Well, I'm really glad to hear that you guys want to investigate this a little more. I'd ask you guys, please, go and drive that road. That would be the best way to investigate that. We've been asking for years if somebody go and actually see the condition of that road. I mean, we're not asking it to be maintained. I mean, you guys know that, why we're wanting it to be closed. But for it being accessible to the public and there's no way to know who's up there and all of that's going on, we see it, okay? This point about it costing very little to maintain that road, a reason why that is because for years we maintain that road because we live up there. And when it snows a foot, 2 feet, 3 feet, we have a dozer and a backhoe that we use to maintain that road. I'm not going to call Mr. Dornkamp and have them drive all the way through Raton, because just like he said, there's no way to get equipment up that road. So we've been maintaining it. If it stays open as a county road, do we start sending a bill to the county every time we keep that county road open? We go all the way to state line. They maintain it up from that side, but we maintain it from our side. So people use that to go and access Dorothy and Maloya. So we're using our equipment, our man hours to do that. We're not sending you guys a bill. I mean, in order to get that cost to go up, we can start. We don't want to do that though. But the expenses on that road would be very high if every time it snowed, we called Mr. Dornkamp and said, we want this road open so we can get out of here. So that's another aspect of it. One other thing that was talked about, and I know in the last meeting with the planners, it was talked about the horses going up onto James John. It is private property, and for some reason, there's this misconception in the newspaper that says you can go up there and hike, you can pick wild raspberries, you can have picnics, you can have all these wonderful things. It's not. That road is 12 feet wide. That's the right of way, 12 feet wide to go up that canyon. And if somebody takes a horse up there to go hunting on James John, if you guys look at that map, 7 or 8 miles, if you guys ride horses, who's going to do that for 7 to 8 miles uphill just so they can skip a Coggins test? It doesn't make sense. But if you guys go and investigate, drive that road yourself, you'll see exactly what we're talking about.
I was going to ask you, Bob, if the road is seasonal, why are you maintaining the road?
Just because in the wintertime it snows, and so we have to clear from our house all the way to the state line to get out. So the county would still have, a stretch that they have to come up and maintain, but we live up past that gate right there where we're proposing. That's our only way to get out, is we maintain it.
So you live more towards the Raton side?
Yeah, so what we maintain, every time it snows in up there, starting this time of year, it starts snowing all the time.
Snow right now.
Yeah.
So you're saying the whole road is not seasonal, is that?
Yeah.
Am I getting that right, Phil? Are we not shutting the whole road down from October?
Yeah, it closes from here to here, but this stretch is still open. Because that's just where the closed sign was placed.
So it doesn't, not on the state line, it's just that little strip stays open.
Right.
And you
We were requested to close it at the gate. We can move that closure all the way to the state line if the board so deems so.
Yeah, because I mean, there's no, in my opinion, there's no sense in having it closed from point A to point B and B to C open when you can't really maintain it when A and B is closed.
Again, I'm speculating, and I think the reason the request was made that way because as the city of Raton's,
Right.
I should say city of Raton owns property adjacent to the county road in that short stretch, but we can still close it there until the city of Raton, if they want it open, they can open it themselves.
There's a lot of winter activity that goes on around Lake Dorothy, cross-country skiing and all that kind of thing. So that Lake Dorothy parking lot, which is right below their fence, gets used year-round. I mean, it's a very popular area.
Well, I appreciate the phone call, and we can discuss some more on this. But before I make a decision on this, I would really like to investigate it more. Because we have two different issues here for me. The legality of number one, the county road, and whether it's properly maintained or not, or the status of it. But the other issue that I have is a quality of life issue. And it's also for our tourists and our residents, which you make a very good point, but it's also for our residents that lived there for many, many years. And the access of it. So we really want to weigh out all these options that we have before us and come to a best conclusion for everybody.
Thank you, guys.
Well, if we do decide to table this and you want to drive the road, then we need to let both sides know so that they can go with this, I don't know, the road's closed, I don't know that we can get up there now.
We'll get you through it.
Not much snow yet, so you're all right.
Pete, would you get all the contact information for these people here? And if you have any further information, if you would, I don't know, maybe it has to go through Bob. Probably need to get it to the planning person, and then we can go through that information. And if you want to make a road, or if we want to go up there, then we will send. If we want to table it. And if, I'd like to. Okay. Is that a motion?
I make a motion to table.
Commissioner, do we need to add for the 30 days?
We have to do it for 30 days, but we need to get, when is our next meeting? Let's see, this is the 7th, 14th, 21st. Do you think we can get all of this pulled together in 2 weeks? Get a trip up there? I don't know what you all's schedule is.
Pretty flexible.
Okay. You guys are flexible too? Okay. We may have to go on a snowcat, but.
Bring cross-country skis.
I don't think we're gonna get much today.
No, I think it's gonna be pretty dry through December.
One tomorrow.
Sure.
Okay, and Phil will probably be with you too. To get, I think probably you're gonna need to go on this.
Me?
Yes.
I'm talking to Bob.
But we'll get it coordinated.
I'm on vacation the week of Thanksgiving.
Okay.
At least Pete approved my request.
All right, well, so there we have Pete, what you need to do is get the contact information for these 3 people. Here they are. And then try to get this set up where it's coordinated with everybody. Bob, is that something that you need to do, or do we do it from here? Do you know?
Yeah, probably because it's a county commissioner meeting, it probably will take a few weeks.
Okay.
I haven't seconded it.
I'm not saying, you're suggesting you want to do this before the next meeting?
Well, he's going to be gone.
For Thanksgiving?
I can come in at 21st.
Well, yeah, for the meeting, but yeah, we need to have this done prior to the next meeting.
Okay.
And probably the quicker the better, because there is a chance it could snow anytime.
correct. What I would like to suggest is Selena is out contacting the folks who signed up to speak today. Some of you did not put phone numbers and or email addresses and or addresses, so please do that with her before you leave.
Okay, I just have a few concerns. Number one, I'm not for closing county roads. Number two, I'm in promotion of tourism and clean economy like bikes and horses and hikers. You know, when I bought a ranch down in Kim, Colorado, very similar situation. The county road split the north and the south pasture. So county road went right to my place. Couldn't do nothing about it. It was a maintained county road. But I bought it knowing that that county road was there. I believe the landowners that purchased this land knew that was a county road when they purchased it. This is a tough situation because I've done both. I've ranched and I believe in recreation. I hunt. I'm an avid hunter. So, you know, there are other counties in the state with seasonal roads where there's a happy median and safety for our constituents. I asked myself, what's one thing that Los Angeles County that don't have that other counties do have? That's a lot of public access, a lot of public roads. Los Angeles County is the largest county in the state of Colorado, but if I'm not mistaken, we're probably the most privately owned county in the state of Colorado. So, with that being said, folks know how I feel about this, but I will set at the table just for more investigations for Bob. I know Bob real well, but I have to do what I feel is right for everybody. But I will table it for further investigation, but I just want to let it know how I and what I feel about this situation today. And that way, Bob, in the meantime, in the next meeting, you can come up with some of the answers. I appreciate that. So I'll set it. Roll call.
Commissioner Moultrie?
Yes.
Commissioner Lopez?
Yes. Yes. Thank you all. We will be in contact with all of you very shortly and we'll get something worked out. Yes. Where we were at.
Sheriff Justice Center, jet filtration.
Oh, jet consideration of jet A filtration.
There's a question as to just logistics and housekeeping. Since we had the two applications, do we have to make another motion to table on the second where the second party didn't arrive? From the public hearing.
All right. They're different, but they're together.
They're different but together. So we could include them, the other parties not here, they could take advantage of the tabled first item.
I think we get, well, I think we need, I think that was the intent to look at both.
Both of them. Okay.
I've got to make a motion on that. Table both A and B.
Okay. And amend the motion.
Amended to include B.
Second.
Commissioner Lopez?
Yes.
Commissioner Moultrie?
Yes.
And Commissioner that.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pete.
Okay, Judy.
Consideration of, excuse me, consideration of Jet A filtration and piping upgrade for airport.
At the airport, as you know, we had recently had an audit of the fuel system, and as a result, you'll note I put in the audit report. You'll note that following, let's say, because of the number of pages, I did number at the bottom. If you would refer to page. Beginning of the report, page 4. The TWS aviation system services was the people that Breezy and Steve O'Shellan had gone forward and looked over a number of people to see if they could assist with the Jet A fuel, and we were not in compliance. And one of the items further down the report that you would identify is that the recommendation was that we would quit selling fuel for the if we did not make this correction. So what they selected TWS and all of the information behind that is follows in the emails there. But going back again now to page 2, we have received from TWS a proposal that would allow us to go ahead and correct and upgrade our equipment so that we would be in compliance with FAA requirements. And that amount is $13,542.65. At present, the airport is not in compliance. There was some difficulty with regard to the lightweight planes and causing damage and potentially harming with the back fuel coming back. We were told a couple of horror stories where the planes actually, and with the fuel, caught fire. And my directive to Breezy and the people from Phillips was that we would prefer to do what was necessary for safety first, and that we would do what we needed to get in compliance. The secondary factor on that is they were well aware of the constraints of the budget for the county, and so along with this proposal is an indication that he would they would move to correct this, and that he would consider taking payment arrangements. I have since spoken with Christy about the budget at for the airport and where we stand with our fund balance, and we both are in agreement that the amount should be paid all at once. It's 13, as I said, the total amount is $13,542, and we would just as soon get that settled and be in compliance. If you go further down to see on page 8, well, first of all, let's go to page 7. You'll know that Sammy signed this during the inspection on an iPad, but the critical deficiency says recommend suspension of fuel sales until resolved. So they are really wanting to come forward and see that we can get together and resolve this issue. I told them that I was unable to bring it to them earlier since the report, and once we got the bid on it, or the final bid, for you to approve it or disapprove it at today's meeting.
Is this the only bid we received?
This is the bid that they together said was the better. They did go out and seek, and they were under some pressure to find out who could do it. I think even at Phillips that they thought perhaps maybe somebody internally, but they have done a very good job of trying to find the best prices for us, recognizing that we are in some constraints, fiscal constraints.
And I guess I fully understand that, but we had a situation here a month or so ago where we had somebody bid on the roof, and they went internally and got the bids, and we said, no, you're going to need to go get bids for that roof. I don't see this as any different, and this is, in your words, and the way I read it too, as a proposal, this isn't even a contract.
No, it's not a contract. This is a proposal for the upgrade, and it is from the TWS. Now, again, Phillips is the people work for Phillips that are working to secure this bid on our behalf. So they went through, and if you like, it delays the process also, but one of the things, they contacted several people. They tried to get, one of the things was that the factor was critical in terms of performance, and that made, now I did not ask him to provide all of the bids. I certainly can do so.
Is there any repercussions or costs to the county for being non-compliant, other than the recommendation of not selling fuel?
Well, that's serious. The downside is the safety thing, I think, Commissioner, is that there was, and I think it was in Utah that they described that the very kind of situation that we had. It was kind of a jerry-rig system in that our nozzle was not sufficiently long and compliant and really pliant. And so it has been added on with like big bolts, and it comes out and it scratches the plane where they go in. The difficulty is that if it will slip in that manner, that any contact with that, then they have had fires, and that's why this has become critical to us. It is more, I think, the safety issue as opposed to, and they could stop, they could shut that down any moment.
Well, that's one area we're making money down there is on the field. I think it's important to keep state compliant.
Is there revenue to cover that?
Well, for as September, we had a profit of $23,000, but we know our cash situation because we don't have actual cash, we have actual assets in the airport. So that's why we've kind of cut down on everything because we're trying to get it, but we do have a profit this month as of September. So there's two different things we look at that. But it's something to me, is it worth us shutting down the airport and no revenue coming in? Or is it worth getting them to compliance? You know, because I don't want them to shut down the airport because we're not in compliance with what they're telling us with the fuel.
Well, the runway down there was shut down. Kind of hard to.
Well, we do have a policy that we need to go out to bid at over so many dollars, and I think if we don't do this, maybe they get 3 bids and give them to us, or get 3 bids. I think then, as we were saying a while ago about opening up a can of worms, if we let somebody go across the state land or our county land, that we're opening up a can of worms if the next guy comes in and says, you know, this is critical, and we're going to give you our proposal, and you need to take it. This is a tough one for me because it may be that it's very critical, but by the same token, it's $15,000 or $13,000, whatever it is. It needs to go out to bid, and maybe we haven't got the time to go to bid. I don't know, but I can't support not going to bid.
Okay.
Well, I concur. I think we have to really cover our bases, you're probably right, Pete. They probably did go out to bid. We need to see those before we can move forward with a decision on that. It made me feel more comfortable. I know this is a pressing issue. We need to get this done. So if we can do it by the next meeting, in 2 weeks, we can probably make a decision.
We could have that quite likely before that. I do think that there are times that you go sole source for a reason, And I would say that safety is one huge reason. And at the time that we were discussing this and at the time that we were hearing, it was my understanding too that recognizing we have a certain amount of time after an audit, but the safety issue is critical. It really is. And if they do choose to, in light of that, to shut down, then we will shut down.
Well, it's just a recommended suspension of fuel sales. It doesn't say it's mandatory.
We have been doing that since
October 7th.
Since
31st.
September, yes. And the quote, as I said, this has to be a rebuild. And so there are, even in this quote, there are items that you'll know are welding time is something to fix. The one distinction was who in the area, who is close in this area that could perhaps do this work. So, but I understand what you're saying, and I will certainly take that back. And
Well, I think even if we're shut down for a month, if we follow the proper procedures.
indeed, and it was my understanding that they had, because I know that Breezy did a lot of work trying to find somebody to do this. And
As I say, if we hadn't done it on the roof a month or so ago, where they came in with the bid on the roof, and we said, no, we need 3 bids on that roof because it's this amount of money. So we rejected that. I see this as a lot of the same situation. But I understand the safety part of it too, so.
Well, I think as long as we advertise it, if they're the only ones that come forward with
Yeah.
the price, that we went through our proper procedures and we're covering the county's butt.
Understood. Yeah, and I can, it may be that I can just simply call Breezy and say, give me all of the other ones that you rejected. It'd be that.
That'd be that simple.
Yes,
Yeah, so,
indeed.
having said that, make a motion to table.
I will second it.
Roll call.
Okay, Mr. Moulter
Yes.
and Commissioner Lopez.
Yes.
And Commissioner Love.
Yes. Boy, looking at the late hour, why don't we just put the rest of this meeting off till about 2?
I'm assuming that's the date.
Consideration of Los Animas County of Veteran Council MOU with Los Animas County, request for deed. So I have some people here. Mr. Walker.
Could,
If you want to give your time to somebody else, that's fine.
well,
Okay.
And the really good thing about this is you don't have to raise your right hand.
Well, thank you, Commissioners, for allowing me to speak. I'm here representing the Los Animas County Veterans Council and the American Legion Post 11 of Trinidad, and all of the other veterans of Los Animas County. In 1937, the WPA built an imposing structure of stone with county help. And its sturdy walls, it became one of the most unique as well as complete veterans memorials in the state of Colorado and perhaps the entire United States. Each building was furnished and dedicated in a manner befitting the particular veterans organizations that were scheduled to move into that facility.
To the best of my knowledge, there's no other memorial in the country of similar design or nature. When visitors come into the Fort Wootton Memorial Square, they pay devotion to all of the veterans of all wars and conflicts that the United States has been involved in, as well as paying tribute to our national flag. Fort Wootton could once again be a center for all veterans activities in this county and in this part of the state. The economic impact will be significant and will be great for the county and for the city. To visit Colorado and not see Fort Wootton is like visiting France and not visiting Paris. Our veterans need to have Fort Wootton as a center of activity and support, a gathering spot for social activities, health services, and other veterans services. A place to receive the help that they need and deserve, and not just for the present, but for the years to come in the future. Support services which could be provided would help veterans with social and economic issues, outreach to veterans to engage them in programs and readjustment into civilian life, refer veterans to appropriate agencies within the state or in the county or the city, provide a follow-up to ensure veterans receive adequate services, and a community education of all of our youth and other citizens to let them know the sacrifices that our veterans have made to the country and the commitment that they have made to Trinidad and Colorado. I thank you for the opportunity to express my opinion here. I would hope that the commissioners would consider the idea of deeding that property to the Veterans Council for their development once the Department of Human Services moves out of there. It's very important that the Veterans Council obtain a deed to the property as quickly as possible, because there's going to be a period of time between the deeding and the vacating of the property by Department of Human Services, and that would allow the Veterans Council to obtain grant funds and the support of businesses and citizens who have pledged their support once ownership has been determined. Thank you.
Mr. Walker, on that grant, when is the deadline on the grant?
One of the grants that we want to apply for is with the Daughters of the American Revolution, and the deadline for that is December. It has to be submitted prior to December 31st in order to get funds in the following year, 2018. And the number of other organizations that we have talked to, there is a significant time period between submission of a grant and approval and the granting of funds. So we would not need to be occupying that property, but we would need to have something that says that we are going to eventually occupy that property.
Do you guys have a grant writer in place?
Well, we have a number of people that have been experienced in that. I think John Garduno is one of them. I have had some experience years back writing federal grant requests, and I think through our American Legion and the Veterans of Foreign Wars, we have some significant legal and grant writing information there that we could do that properly.
So with that December 31st deadline, when would you absolutely need the deed in your guys' hands?
We would probably need a couple of weeks to prepare all of our paperwork and get it submitted, because it has to be to the DAR prior to December 31st.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Walker.
Mrs. Walker.
Thank you, gentlemen. I am also,
Can you pull that microphone?
Mr. Walker is my husband and very supportive always to the military and to all the veterans. And I am with the American Legion Auxiliary. I am also on the Veterans Board, Council Board, and support also as a citizen of Trinidad. One of the things that I was thinking about was structure. Structure in all of our lives. Structure that we had as we were growing up with our families. Structure in our schools. Structure in our religious affiliations. And structure in our military. Another structure that we have in Trinidad is a stone structure. And that's Fort Woodin Memorial Square. And it means a lot to us. And the more time that we've spent, I think we've been working on this for about 10 years. And it means more than I can tell you. And with that, I hope that you will give approval for us to work. This will mean not only just for the city and the county, but also for the state, because we will have support of so many people and be able to help our veterans. These are veterans that as far back as we can remember, but from World War II to wars that we're in now. And we need to help the ones that are living and the ones that have gone ahead of us. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Garduno.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you for having me here. Mr. Walter, to answer your question directly, there will be numerous grants applied for at various times. First one we would need right off to say is we need to assess what it is that we need. We don't know what the condition of the fort is. It's been about 100 years of deterioration, and we have to determine what's required. One of the big things required is the total removal and replacement of the electrical wiring in there. Same thing happens with, let's say, the piping. And piping is 100 years old when it was put together. So there are, I expect any number of grants that will be applied for immediately and down the road, maybe even 2 years from now, 3 years from now. So it's going to be an ongoing thing. And I want to thank you for letting me talk and I am very much interested in having this positive entity given to the veterans, which in turn gives it back to the community. In 1947, I took boxing lessons at the Memorial Square. They get a black eye. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, Mr. Virginia.
Mr. Dawes.
Commissioners, thank you for hearing this out. I'm not sure how much of the information I've got in front of me you have in the package. but I've got some more if you want, if we need it. We, the board of the Los Alamos Veterans Council, today we want to formally apply to take over the ownership of Fort Woodton Memorial Square. Immediately it's vacated by Human Services. Now we believe that the appropriate way to achieve this is by a quitclaim deed, and that there is plenty of precedent for this. Mount San Rafael Hospital is deeded away from the county by this. The Council of Governments, same thing, and the Rehabilitation Centre likewise. And we have copies of those, apart from the Rehabilitation Centre, we've got copies of those deeds that we can offer today. Now they've all been granted their premises by the same method that we're suggesting. Now once the deed is enacted, then the fort would once again be returned to the purpose for which it was dedicated back in June 1937. And that was as a fortress of memory to veterans of all wars in which American arms had participated. Now the Los Alamos Veterans Council is a 501c3 non-profit organisation which is named after the original organisation, and in 1937 the Los Alamos County leased Fort Woodton Memorial Square to the veterans for a period of 50 years. Regrettably, that lease was not honoured, but now we have the opportunity to return the fort to its original purpose. In addition, make it available to all the citizens of the county and the city. Once proof of ownership is established, we have offers of support from Fort Carson, from Lowe's, from the Home Depot, consisting of material and manpower. Grant money is also available from the Daughters of the American Revolution, the American Legion, and Veterans Affairs. We've investigated all of those grant opportunities, but each one requires that we have some form of ownership. Without that, it can't be proceeded with. Now recently we've begun talking with Mount Carmel Veterans Service Centre in Colorado Springs. And I'm not sure if you've been there, but it is a fairly magnificent enterprise, and it's the sister organisation to the Mount Carmel Wellness Centre that we have here in town. And we are talking to them on the basis of providing some form of partnership in the operation of services for veterans. And that would put Fort Woodton as a one-stop shop, if you like, one location in town where veterans and their families can go to and make it easy for them to receive the support they deserve for the service they've given to their country. Now, when the idea of the fort, that it might become available to the public, was first mooted, and this was a good number of years ago, it was around about 12 years in fact, hundreds of people actually attended the meetings. And they were held over in the junior college. And those people were extraordinarily enthusiastic. Unfortunately, the process of the fort becoming available and DHS moving across the road into the courthouse has taken a little longer than most people hoped. So we're now back into that position where I heard earlier that there's a possibility that the elevator may finally be inspected and approved, and the final impediment for moving may go away. And so many of those folk that attended those original meetings are still around. Some have died, and that's some of our board members, in fact, have gone. And those people that are still with us are still keen to lend their support. But they want to see that support go into something active and not just more words. So they're willing and able. They see you get the key and we'll be there. Some 3 years ago, and this is how time passes so quickly, we entered into an agreement, a memorandum of understanding between the Veterans Council and the county, and it spelled out how the transition might go along once we were ready. And the memorandum, I think you have a copy there. It's basically in 3 parts. There was a section where the Veterans Council had to do things, and pretty much we've done all of those. And there's a section where the county has to do certain things, and there's a section where we do things jointly. The last 2 aspects of the memorandum haven't really come into play, but the memorandum does spell out how we can go about these things, and we need to do that. So if the intent of the MOU is now fully embraced and with a positive outlook and goodwill from all parties, we believe that Fort Woodman can soon be the source of pride and enjoyment for all the citizens of the county. And there is widespread support in town for this transition, and as proof of that, we've provided letters, and we've got one from the city of Trinidad, a very positive thing, a letter from the Daughters of the American Revolution. I'm not sure, do you have copies of these? Because I've got them.
Yes. Yes.
And the history of Colorado Trinidad History Museum, the Preservation Society, and one from your good selves, dated back in 2009. And it was interesting that somewhere in there was a proceeding to make the jail facility into office space for these, and it was expected that would be all done in a few months. It wasn't. Now I've got a couple more letters that I'd like to offer up as well. There's one from the Trinidad Community Foundation and another one from TSJC. We just included those because they give an indication of the amount of public support. And we are keen to get started, and we actually have a copy of a deed in blank form, ready for your signature if you wish to. And so what we're talking about is a formal recognition that that ownership will change of ownership will take place. And it doesn't mean that at the same time that occupancy will become available. And we understand that there is still some hurdles to leap across for DHS in order to get across the road. So that point doesn't matter. The fort became unavailable to veterans back in 1942, and that's some 70-something years ago. And what's a few more months or so? So that's basically not the problem. The problem is that we need to have some sort of ownership so that we can start going out, organising the actual transition. And there's a lot of work to be done. It's not something that you just simply toss us the key and we blindfoldedly go in there and hope for the best. Because more or less we have to do that to an extent, because access to the property has not been available due to the security nature of DHS. So I've been through the fort maybe half a dozen times. The maximum time spent in any one visit was about an hour. If I was assessing that as a property valuation, I would have been derelict in my duty, because there's a lot of fort and there's a lot of spaces, and just to take it in the first couple of times I probably went out more bewildered than I went in. Basically the fort's in good condition overall, and the part that's occupied currently by DHS, it's workable because they are in there working, and but there is a lot to be done. And if we involve historic places, and there was the view to returning it to its original historic beauty, there would be a huge amount of money required. But that doesn't necessarily have to happen overnight. And there's a formality of ownership and later on possession. But the formality of ownership is what we're asking for today. And Dave Walker here has copies of the potential deeds, and so he's going to pass those around. And if you have any questions for me, I'll be pleased to answer them.
Mr. Dodge. It's been about a year now since I first met with you, Mr. Garduno, and Veterans Council, and met a couple times in between there. And we discussed my utmost respect and profound respect for our veterans and our community and across our country. And at that meeting, I didn't make a commitment to you, but I made a personal commitment to myself to help the veterans of our community to be benefited by this process that we're going through right now. We're almost there. I understand the memorandum of understanding was done way before I was here. You guys have been working on this since 2008, 2009, I believe. I'm not sure about the legalities of this. We probably have to check with our attorney regarding this, but I would love nothing more personally than to hand you the keys and the deed by Veterans Day next week. I can't do that on my own. The attorney needs to get involved here. But I believe we're close. Now today we're having an inspection on the elevator. I believe this commitment was possibly made to you guys in the past when we were board commissioners. But I'm very happy to say that the commitment that this board is having towards our veterans has been a good effect for our community with Mr. Trujillo and the benefits that he's giving downstairs in this office, and the more veterans he brought in has really substantiated the amount of veterans and acknowledging them that we do have a lot in our community. So I would be very proud to, like I said, hand you the keys and here you go. I believe we need to do some formalities first, but I understand your plight and the necessity to get the deeds so you can start your process for grants. But I think we're almost there. I believe we're close. And I'm just proud of the day. I'd love to see that facility renovated, renewed, and in Mr. Lackey's eyes for tourists. I was speaking about tourism earlier today, he's gone now, but for tourism, and I think it would be a really neat place and facility for our community to use along with our veterans. So I'm happy. I'm just there. Thank you.
I'll reiterate what Louis has said. I want to thank all of the veterans of our country for what they've done. We wouldn't be here today without you guys. And I too think that we're very, very, very close. And I would get great satisfaction in being a commissioner to hand the veterans of this county the keys to that building, and maybe one day look like this again. Like you said, we're close. I'm not familiar enough with it, and I would like to speak to the legal counsel for fee. But that's where I'm at.
We'll give copies of the other deeds that we have to Ms. Fraser and get that organized. There is one amongst them that probably none of you have ever seen. It's actually a deed from the city to the county in 1942, deeding Fort Woodton from the city to the county. Why that was necessary, God only knows, because there was a certain amount of acrimony between the two bodies about property, so that there was no. It seems an appropriate method, and it obviously worked from 1942 to now because you're still the owner. So it's a simple enough process.
Attorney, or who did this?
That was done by Mr. Fisco Manager.
You do have the 501c3.
Yes, sir.
Okay, we're going to need to see a copy of that.
I think that's somewhere in the.
If we got it.
In the in the files?
There is a big file, I will have to research that. I can,
We have the documents for 501c3.
We need to see those.
And everything, we'll give you, I'm glad to give you a copy.
Okay, that's one of the things we need to see, and these guys are young here. We've been to this place several times.
That's true.
And I'd like to see it happen, but I'm not gonna say that we're gonna get it done next week, because, as I say, we've been to this place, I think, about 4 times where we thought it's imminent. And maybe this time it is imminent, but I kind of...
Yeah, the thing is to not get too involved in trying to put everything in the one basket at this stage. The occupancy issues, Lord knows, I mean, they've gone on for a long time. And, but that's not necessarily an impediment to the process. It's just a step in the way. And we need to be sure that, firstly, that you approve this idea, so your approval is necessary. And secondly, having approved it, do the legality thing. And once you're assured that it's all legal and above board, go through the legal process of transferring the ownership. And then one day, when the 50 yards gap between DHS and the courthouse is seen to be surmountable, they will move across and the place will become vacant, and then possession can take place. So those are the steps as I see them. And it's, the time factor is important for the first couple of steps, but not so much for the other. Keeping the place warm and paying the bills. We really get cracking and taking a window of time, and then we can use that time to good value, and it also gives us a time to work out all of the details of the transition and the contents of the MOU. So that portion of it needs time, but the initial part also needs no time, and the quicker that's done, the quicker we can get on with the process.
Who does Ms. Frazier need to be in contact with? You? I mean, we need a contact person so that if we need information,
yes.
Or is it you?
Yes, it's me at this stage, and if I'm not available, Dave Walker, and between the two of us, we'll provide whatever information you need.
Okay, so she's got all your information, how to get a hold of you, and...
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yep.
So to clarify for myself, you'd be willing to make an agreement to allow the county to use the facility as long as certain time?
I don't know whether it's true or not, but that could be arranged. All they have to do is help pay the bills.
I also like to make one other comment, not about Fort Wooten, but congratulating you for taking ownership of a new business or an existing business in Trinidad. Congratulations for being the new owner. Colorado Floors and Blinds, is
that's us?
That's your business? Yeah. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's where I'm getting all my lines, so if I need some more, I'm sure we'll be doing business.
Well, I can see your foot now, but on the back of my van it says blind man driving. So.
All right, well, having said what we've discussed today here, I'm excited, but I'm also conscious of Mr. Lauer's remarks that we shouldn't count our chickens before they hatch. Having said that, I'd like to consult with our attorney regarding this. I'll make a motion to table this deed until probably the next couple of weeks, next meeting, so we get legal advice and see what our position is as commissioners and what we can do. So I make a motion to table.
I will second that with enthusiasm that this is coming to a closure, and it's really, really close.
I hope you're right this time.
Commissioner Walker?
Yes.
Commissioner Lopez?
Yes.
And Commissioner Lau?
Yes. Well, we will be in touch and
Thank you for sitting through all of this today.
Consideration of bills and payroll for the second half of October 2017.
Payroll as of October 31st is $131,226.93.
Need some 5-hour energy?
Oh, he's out there. He's out. I'm struggling. Bills for October 18th. $58,710.65. Let's see, we on October 25th, we purchased some postage for the elections, finish off the elections for $500. And then October 25th, bills were $53,606.33. And you'll see the Cayman dog ride that was purchased on this week.
Are you still looking or?
No, I just got, I see the third quarter report and I'm not too sure.
Okay, so you're done talking about
I'm
this
done
part.
talking for this part.
Okay.
Sorry. I'm looking at the back here. Sorry. You guys have any questions?
We were all okay with you. We're pictures.
Well, she's looking for something.
The third quarter report, I think I sent it for informational only for you and the commissioners, but yeah, we can put it in the packet. That's how I was surprised to see it in here. That's how I was just kind of surprised to see, but it's not, you know, you can go just so you can see it.
If we have no further questions on the bills and payrolls, do I hear a motion to pay the bills?
Make a motion.
Second.
Commissioner Mulcher,
Yes.
Commissioner Lopez,
Yes.
Commissioner Loudon.
Yes. Third quarter report for 2017. What page are you on?
I didn't number them.
Come on.
Because it's just information, and so like the first page you'll see is just purchasing, because we have a fund for just purchasing for everybody in here. So it just kind of gives you a detail of what everybody's purchased so far for this year. It's great information.
I think it's worked pretty well too.
Yeah, well, I think it's worked very well. Some people.
Yeah, but
We're
I mean,
not gonna-
there's.
we won't go there.
Yeah.
Just some people.
But in looking at what people had spent,
Yes.
This was very important.
And then you'll see, I think as you kind of go through, you'll see the county administrator's budget that's actually in detail. You'll see, I'm saying she's doing very well with hers.
What about accounting?
Accounting is over. But it's going to get better as the months go because we spend all our money at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, right.
So that's why. We'll look at that. We'll talk about that in December. Because it should be really good. Wow, by December. Yeah, see, so, and I think that the commissioners, you can kind of see that. You guys are doing really well also too.
Well, I don't spend any money unless you say I can. I think if I bought business cards and that's it.
You spent that much?
$27.
Not the second time. The second time we made up.
Well, the second time Selena made it, so that cost us, what, $5?
Yeah, probably not even that much, because we've had that stuff in storage a long time.
Every penny.
Yeah.
Every penny, people.
Yeah.
No.
Anything you want to point out to us in that, or?
No, because I'm not prepared for that.
Okay, all right.
Like I said, this was, because I said, what I did this month is I sent everybody their third quarter financials, through email. And like I said, so I sent it to them just so they can kind of review, because I can make mistakes. If I say, hey, Christine, this doesn't belong here, please move them. And then I think I sent commissioners, I think, to you guys also too. So you can kind of see yours, and then each department got theirs per email, just so that they can kind of see where they're at, because we're getting close to the end of the year. And I want to make sure everybody is very frugal, so we don't overspend. So that's why I kind of sent it to the email. So this is just administration. Yeah, so.
You give us information, Christy will pass it on.
I'm just surprised you can tell. But you'll see the next one is the financial one, so we can look at that too after. If you'd like the financials as of September.
Do we need a motion to approve the report?
Yeah, I guess it's
To accept it?
Yeah.
Okay, make a motion to accept the third quarter report.
Second.
Commissioner Walter?
Yes.
Commissioner Lopez?
Yes.
Commissioner Loudon?
No. Yes. Okay, so you want to look at the memo on financial reports September 30th?
Correct. So as of, if you look on page 1 and 3, but page 3, you'll see that general fund has a surplus of $238,668.36 as of September. Everybody should be at 75% as of the third quarter for financials. Okay. You'll see airport has on page 3 has a surplus of $23,142.19. If you go back to page 1, I was going to list of who's over and kind of why they're over on each of our general fund. You'll see insurance is over because we pay that annually. But actually, no, they're not in work. They're at 73. See that I'm saying each month it goes down. But you'll see accounting is at 81%. Well, it's 82%. It should be at 75, but it's because, like I said, we pay everything like 100% the first part of the year. And it goes down, so by December we should be perfect. Just to tell you that. County treasurer is over because I will be doing a transfer from public trustee because they're paid out of treasurer and then I move them out. The assessor is over. She's at 81% because of the same thing as the accounting office. We pay everything 100% through the year. The sheriff is over. He's at 78. That includes an insurance claim, and that'll be probably part of the supplement. I'll show that. Plus now with the dog, I'll show that also as part of the supplement. Oil and gas is over because because we received additional grant funding for him. So he's working more hours because of the grant money we received from Noxus Weed. The same with emergency management. She's over because we did receive some additional funding for that, and that's something we're going to work on for that. And then fire control, it's at 83 because we pay that one 100% also to the beginning of the year. But everybody else you can see is right on 75%, or even under. Commissioners are at 62%.
Let me ask you this. We got capital outlay for 10,000. What was that?
Where are you at?
On commissioners? Oh, page 6.
Oh, page 6. Page 6 is I bet you're looking at Lewis's computer. I was going to find it.
Is that the server?
Oh, no, that's the server. I'm sorry. Yeah, your computer's not 10,000. I'm sorry. That's the server. I thought you said 1,000 because yours was 1,000. But no, that's the server that we got for accounting and the treasurer. The server that she had upstairs was dying. And it was like on its last leg. So we finally moved everything over to the new server downstairs. And I'm assuming, are we calling it the cold room? I don't know what we're calling it, but that's where everything is. So that's that. So all of our finances is moved to that one area, and it's not up in where everybody can get to it. It's in a locked room now. Okay? So that's what that is. But you're still at 62%. You'll see the security grant. I just received the money for that. So the full spending as of October, I think, was $19,000, and the check just came in for $19,000. So we just got that yesterday.
That's what I was gonna say, we're ready, yeah.
Yeah, but the 19,000 just came in, because and it's exactly what we spent, the full 19,000 on that.
Okay, on county administrator, we have contractual services, 2,500, but we spent 4,000. What is that about? It's on page 7.
I do see it. I have to actually look at that map because I
Okay.
didn't. Yeah, but I will make a note of it to look, and I will email everybody to what it is. And I'm trying to think what it could possibly be for administration.
What page is that?
Page 7, and it's on the top of the page. Yeah, I'd have to look into that.
Okay.
Because I don't know right off the bat. Oh, let's see what? We have the 3rd quarter of them, and that'll tell me right away. Give me 1 second to look at that. Okay, so Triad, we paid $1,600 to Triad because it's called Web Root anti-software, and then we have to renew our mail server with them.
Okay.
So if you go back to the 3rd quarter, and I think it says it's on page 7. It's on page 7.
That's where we're at.
Of the 3rd quarter thing.
Oh, so you're making us go clear back.
I'm sorry, I could
To
pass
another
this out
page
if you'd like, but that's what it was. So Triad, you can see there's 4 payments. One is to the mail security renewal, and then archive server, web root, antivirus, and the mail renewal. So that came to probably about 2,500, I bet.
Councilor DeShawn.
Yep, and the other charges are for business solution for our copy machines. That's what it is. So thanks for putting this in here so I could explain it. Yes, that's, and it's just we probably didn't anticipate that because I think we probably need to have a discussion about Triad because they owe us money, and we continue to ask them what is the balance of what the services
The hours?
for the hours, I'm sorry, the hours, and we just don't seem to get any really response from them. And then they ask for this because they're controlling all of it. And I kind of feel like we need to probably have a discussion about Triad. To where are we at with them? And are we going to continue with them?
We have serious issues.
We do.
They're non-responsive. The service that we are getting is very bad.
Are we in a contract with them?
When was that contract? At the end of December of 2016?
Maybe it was 15. Was it at the end of 15, Matt?
I believe it was right before.
Don't you remember when they came to us and they wanted us to add some more hours? We said, no, we still got 200 hours.
But I honestly feel like it was at the end of 15 that we made the agreement, and then we went the whole year of 16 to where they didn't do a lot for us. So we had a lot of hours coming into 17. But we have asked for a list because, you know, Pete came in, I'm saying, so she doesn't know who has the list or who's kept track of the hours. So we don't have anything from them.
Kathy had that.
We looked.
Oh, okay.
It's really hit and miss. I think that some of the elected officials will call them and he will respond. He does not put together anything for us. We've asked, and it's the other thing that is really dismaying is that when he changed out computers, you could walk in anybody's office, in our admin offices, and see that there are computers just lying on the ground. He'll change something out, and he doesn't wipe them clean. He doesn't do anything. There's no discussion on them. He's in, he's out. And some of these things we can do ourselves and have done ourselves because we get no service.
There's also a local service that's here.
Well,
yes.
if he has money left on this contract, I'd like the money to come back just so that we can hire a local person, you know, because we have been talking to, I think, certain people in town that have come, they've helped us immediately when we need it in this moment. Because we've had our server making really weird noises to where Josh is not helpful at all. To where, so if there's still money left on this contract, I'd like it to come back to the county to where we could actually have a local vendor work with us.
I think that's something we can talk to BC.
Yeah, but we don't have a list anywhere. You can't find anything.
I think Lynn and them have looked.
We have requested numerous times from Josh and and we have still received, now this has been months, right, since I first got here. I've been saying, what, where's this stuff?
Well, I know last year that they were wanting us to buy more hours, and I said, we still got hours left. We don't need to buy any more hours till we use up.
Maybe we should do just the opposite, get billed for their services and then pay them instead of paying them in advance.
That makes a lot of sense.
I mean, I hold everything in 30 days in my business, and I pay it, so.
It's an unusual contract.
Right. I can go back and I can get you the information of what we paid him, all of that, and then maybe that could be a discussion.
Okay, so.
Are you done?
And then unless you wanted me to go over the other funds, to say, as of lottery, the money revenue we've received as year to date is $34,961. Hilt, we still have the $709,000 that we've received. Let's see, capital expenditure, it's still the same where we paid the pictometry, we paid the energy management, and we paid off the final payment to FAA, to RBK. Sheriff Jail, we've had computer repairs for $276. Maintenance repairs paid $6,429. For the kitchen equipment, we've paid $18,894, and for the sheriff tasers, we paid $3,482. So just, I'm saying it's nothing real different, but I was trying to keep it updated of anything else we purchased. And jump forth with the grants.
Yeah.
You know, so we have to continue to watch that too, which is fund balance. Okay, I'm done now.
We don't have to make some information also, we don't need to do anything on that. Acting in its capacity as a board of human services. Consideration of bills and payroll tabled on October 17th, 2017.
I got a chance to look at those, and therefore I make a motion to approve.
Second?
Commissioner Lopez?
Yes.
Commissioner Walter?
Yes.
Commissioner Lund?
Yes. Consideration of bills for second half of October 2017.
Those I haven't looked at.
Okay.
I haven't.
I have looked at.
You have?
Yes.
What's on the third?
I'd make a motion to approve, but if you guys want to look at them, then I'll find it.
We'll be back here. He doesn't make me anything for 30 days.
Hey, you know, that's the way you gotta do it, right?
I'm trusted in your recommendation. I'll second.
Okay, Commissioner Lopez?
Yes.
Commissioner Walter?
Yes.
Commissioner Lund?
Yes. Executive session, all right. It's 12 o'clock. Why don't we reconvene at 1 o'clock?
Sounds good to me. I make a motion to recess till 1 o'clock.
Till 5 after 1.
Okay.
Second.
We gotta get that extra 5 minutes.
What's that?
Go into executive session or recess?
Recess.
We'll recess now till 1 o'clock, and then we'll come back and read this.
Oh,
Guys, are you gonna make any decisions?
We haven't made a decision in years.
You're not gonna come out and vote?
I don't think so, Tom. If we do have something, I'll text you or something.
I've got some people coming at 1, so
Okay.
I'd be tied up.
Well, we'll be in there for until 2 anyway, probably, so.
Wait, if you come out and vote, call me.
Okay. I don't think there's anything that we've got pending.
The hardest decision right now is
Yes, yes.
where to